Well, after an incredible round one, there is plenty to talk about. Hopping across the pond, across many ponds, in fact, from Australia to Europe, here at Circuit Zolder for round two of the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup, live on NZ Sim Racing TV. Bringing it to you is myself, Reese Gardner, with Scott Rankin joining me in the commentary box. The story of the season thus far turns out to be Ewan Baker versus Chris Prout. They're only separated by 2 points at the top of the drivers' standings, but we have plenty of drivers who had a rough go of it at the first round, looking to potentially get their championship charge back on track here in the finals. Incredible prizes on offer besides. Welcome, Scott. Pleasure to be with you in the commentary box once again. I'm excited. Zolder beckons.
Yeah, Zolder does beckon, and a track that's, you know, a little bit hard on the suspension, but then again, these 86s nice and soft, and they'll take the curbs and ride them rather well. And one of the things that I was just sort of flicking through all of our series information as well, which is challenging about this series in particular, is that the setup's been designed as well without traction control and driver assist. So this is a track that will really, really challenge that. The Ben last week also, again, similar sort of characteristics between the two in terms of long, loaded corners where you've got to be really, really balanced. And this car as well, you pick up the throttle and it just unweights that front end. So tricky challenge for the drivers here. Again, balancing all of that up and over the curbs, looking for some consistency. But Ewan's been one of those drivers who developed over the last couple of seasons. We talked about him a lot last season and how I've been really, really impressed. But to be standing alone at the top at the moment, well, Field's got to go after him. And that is a tricky prospect from a man who has learned to temper his aggression.
Yeah, exactly. We've been tracking Ewan Baker's development over the course of the last couple of years, and it's really been amazing to see the form that he has at the moment. But Chris Prout is certainly a big contender here. Aggressive, wanting to race side by side, being able to pull off some spectacular moves when it matters. It's going to be a tight battle at the top. James Corbin sitting in third in the drivers' standings as well. He's going to be looking to keep those results up and pressure Baker and Prout for that top spot. But we're going to be going once again for the 3-race format tonight, Scott. Race 1 of 12 laps, race 2 15 laps, race 3 9 laps. The same format that the real-life NZ Toyota 86 Championship runs. And I think around a circuit like this, race 2 in particular is going to be an exercise in caution, because you mentioned how well the cars take a lot of these curbs. Those curbs nonetheless can be quite brutal, and there is a lot of potential for slowdowns around the lap.
Yeah. Circuit cut limitations in and around the lap are extremely difficult to sort of manage. And at the moment, actually, I was just seeing Ewan Baker making his transition down pit lane. Not required here in this lap in this series, but he's entering it nonetheless, because I think that says to us, not only is the circuit cut penalties potentially high risk, but the ability for the cars is just unbalanced. If you get the chicane wrong, any of the chicanes throughout the lap, that can kick the car a little bit sideways, then the field piles into you. So it's a test run through the pit lane. So he's doing his homework, making sure that he's prepared. But yeah, look, this is a track that is really, really tricky to manage, because you've got this long, fast-flowing turns 2, 3, 4 that leads onto a little bit of a straight. But at the end of that straight is the sharpest chicane of the lap, but you can carry a lot of speed through it. It's challenging in the only thing I think that's actually missing to make this place a street circuit. It's the fact that it's not on the real road and the walls aren't a little bit closer, because it's got all the right elements.
Yeah, indeed it has. Speaking of, I think it's time to have a little tour around this circuit, thanks to series organizer Matthew Pluck and the BMW M2 safety car, presented by Creme Insurance and Speednation, of course. Across the start-finish line, we see drivers moving across the track from left to right to open up the entry to turn 1. An incredibly difficult corner to get right. Tightens up at the apex right there. There's a lot of curb you can use on the exit, but the curb is a bit higher than you think. Pit entry rejoins the racetrack there through turn 2. You're flat out through turn 3, but if you get your line wrong through the opening corners, that might change. Little tap of the brakes and some very gentle steering into turn 4, and then you have a straight to pick up a tiny bit of slipstream, what little you can manage at a circuit as tight as this, ready for the big chicane here. Have a look at the curbs, see how much the car gets thrown around on those particular apexes. Got to make sure that you manage the throttle across the hill here and stick as tight as you can to the left-hand side to open up the entry to the Villeneuve chicane. This is one of those crucial points of the lap where you can very easily get a slowdown. Those curbs are wide and flat, but you cannot run beyond them. Keeping the throttle pinned as best you can through the double right-hander on the exit, leading you down to the slowest corner on the circuit, the hairpin, which basically starts the final sector here. There's going to be a lot of big sends here, but defending on the way out is going to be difficult because, as you can see, the track meanders a little bit to the left on the exit. Then it's just a case of lining up your braking point for the final chicane. We are running the Grand Prix version of this chicane. It's slow on entry, faster a little bit on exit, and it really widens as you get onto the start-finish straight again. It's such a fun circuit, Zolder. Plenty of history behind it. Hosted the Formula One Belgian Grand Prix throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, and now plays host to a whole host of touring car and GT events. It's a brilliant place, and I'm glad that we're here.
Yeah, that we are. And like you said, I think one of the tricky aspects tonight is that little rise before we head down to this hairpin down here. It's not, in a lot of cars, it's flat out. There's not really a whole bunch. And the 86 actually is one of those cars, but it's not straightforward. It's, you know, there's subtle elements to this track. It's rather flat. There's no major bumps or anything to really look out for that you need a little bit of track knowledge to work your way through and around. But yeah, this one is one of those tracks where I always feel claustrophobic when I'm in the sim, because it looks wide down here. This is the widest section of the track. The rest of the track is maybe 2/3 the width of that. It's a lot more tied in, man. It just challenges you, and the track closes up on you much more than you think it would.
It absolutely does. Well, with our introductions done and ourselves situated with the track, it's time for a short break. When we come back, we'll be announcing the winner of the fan vote from last week and go to qualifying and the racing. So stay with us here on NZ Sim Racing TV. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors, partners and supporters.
You have something in your mind, you are able to create it, build it, and then someone from the other side of the world came and tell you that they want to spread this product to 50 countries in the world, so it's a huge personal.
You're watching NZ Sim Racing TV, the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. Of course, we have already run one round of the finals, and one driver who had an incredibly tough go of things, hardware failure while battling for the lead in race one, James McIver, despite carrying incredible pace, did not quite get the result he wanted out of round one, but there is one silver lining. James won the fan vote last week, and he joins us right now here in the commentary box. James, a fantastic turnaround there from the first round. You've gotten yourself a pair of sim racing gloves from Speednation, so at the very least you have that to come out of the first round.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit bittersweet. I mean, I'd probably rather have the race win, but definitely, yeah, the gloves are, yeah, it's thanks to Speednation for, for giving those away. It's definitely a cool wee prize to make up for a bad race. So yeah, thanks to Speednation, and yeah, looking forward to hopefully having a better race this afternoon.
And it wasn't through any fault of your own either, the problems that you suffered at round one. Have you worked out the problems that resulted in your wheel failing at round one?
I think I just had the strength up a bit too high. It's only about 5 Newton meters, so I was trying to work it pretty hard. So yeah, I've turned it down about 10%. So the performance won't be as great, but yeah, hopefully it should just get me to the end.
Well, currently looking at your pace in this session, you're looking to gear up a bit more for qualifying, which is going to be starting in just a few minutes. What's your target for today?
My target really is just to get inside the top 10, because that reverse grid just shakes it up all so much, really. So yeah, I didn't have a great practice session, but I definitely know there's some pace to come in quali. So yeah, we'll just try put some clean laps together and yeah, see where we get.
Lovely stuff, James. We appreciate you joining us. Congratulations on winning the fan vote, and best of luck today.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
Brilliant stuff from James McIver here at Zolder, Scott. And we also have the secondary announcement from the fan vote. A random draw from any viewer that votes on the driver of the round on the NZ Sim Racing TV socials after each round is also eligible for a pair of Speednation Sim Racing gloves. Corey Bill is the winner of the random draw. That's Corey Bill. If you're watching right now, get in touch with NZ Sim Racing TV if you are watching, and you will be getting yourself a pair of sim racing gloves from Speednation. That prize is, of course, up for any fan that votes on the favorite driver vote on the NZ Sim Racing TV socials after every round of these finals. Well, Scott, we're keeping our eyes peeled here for the end of practice. I'm looking forward to seeing what these drivers can do. Mitchell Sparrow was up the front at the first round of the season. Currently sits just outside the top 10 in practice. A lot of potential from him here.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been on the pace over the last couple years as well. And worthwhile pointing out, I think just passed to us is in terms of driver information and wildcards coming our way tonight. Don't forget Hugo Allen and all the speed that he's been able to show in NZ Sim Racing over the last couple of years. He will actually be joining us as tonight's wildcard, defending champion from 2025 in the 86 Series RL. So he's got a lot of credentials on board his thing. I love watching Hugo drive Porsche Cup cars as well. He's always been a stalwart competitor, lots of pace, lots of aggression as well. He's not just happy to quietly get out there and go about things and just put the laps together and put the race together. No, he will get the elbows out. And again, like we've already mentioned, Zolder's one of those tracks where you can. You've got this first sector right here as we're watching with Arthur Brown. Down through turn one, it's a late apex. There's a lot of ability to move right. Look at all the gravel that's the kitty litter that's been dragged onto the circuit. These guys are really, really pushing with those track limits. A little bit of gravel, drag it back onto the corner, and then all of a sudden turn two goes from being a relatively easy, simple corner, slightly late apex, to a little bit of gravel on the line. You can't pull the car up nice and accurately. So that's something to work with as well. Turn four. In the background of Arthur Brown's shot just there as he just came through it on the run to the chicane. Again, you can pick up a lot of dirt, dust, debris, drag it back onto the racetrack. A little bit less important because, again, look at those curbs. They're monstering the curbs through 5 and 6 as well. Massive part to the lap, particularly in terms of carrying speed. And he's picked up a slowdown penalty because he's cut those curbs too much. Trying to serve that on lap 1 is going to be a nightmare. So making sure you're clean and clear through there, and very, very often drivers just yield when they get to the chicane. It's not worth going through that chicane too wide. That is so much of a risk, just forget it. It's not worth taking that on.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait for the field to space out a little bit more before you think about really running side by side through the chicanes here. The run into the hairpin as well, going to be one of the main overtaking opportunities here today. One thing that always strikes me about this circuit is how thin a lot of these curbs are. You mentioned the exit of turn 4. It's just a thin strip of curb, and then there's just grass and gravel to separate you. So drivers need to be very careful of that. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of clouds of dust and gravel finding their way through the air onto the circuit today. But all of that is going to be in the back of our minds for the moment as we focus on who sets the best lap time for the Race 1 grid. Qualifying is go, and the chase for the incredible prizes on offer will restart here for round 2. Remember, first overall prize of this series, the winner automatically advancing to the CareVets Toyota 86 scholarship competition in March. They'll be competing in on and off track performance activities against a judging panel, and if they win the scholarship, they'll get a season drive in the CareVets Toyota 86 for the 2026 Toyota Trophy Series. Second overall will get a $1,000 voucher for MOZA Racing products redeemable at Speednation. Third overall prize gets a $450 voucher for the Men and Racing Products Sim Racing store. And the driver that gets the fastest lap in any of our races today, not in qualifying, will get a $40 voucher for the MRP Sim Racing store. There's also prizes on offer for the hard charger and, of course, the driver of the round and the Apex Lab biggest mover. Most positions gained over the whole season. There's so much on offer here. It doesn't matter where you are on the field, Scott, there is something to race for.
100%, and it's one of the things that the group here do so much better, I think, than a lot of the other Australian and NZ sim racing groups. Is there's prizes for a whole bunch of stuff that aren't actually related to finishing position, which is critical. In a Toyota 86, you could be 3/4 of a second off the pace in terms of outright raw speed, but you can earn that lap because you're in the right draft train at the right time and just set the fastest lap across the night. So that's an opportunity. Gaining spots, starting down the back end of the field, getting a fan vote, being the voted fan of the week as well. You know, there's so many different opportunities, which is that's how you get inclusivity. These guys are out here putting their biggest and best show on, and yet they still, no matter where they are in the field, they are valid and entry to a prize. The big thing noting on this this warm-up lap to start our qualifying is have a look at the queue and the congestion. How good a road from qualifying sessions. You've got to be involved in this sort of stuff. It is busy work trying to figure out how you're going to go about setting a lap time.
Yes, indeed. There's 27 drivers in the server here. Actually, no, 24. My apologies. I was counting safety car, race control, and race steward in there too. But really, quite a large field here. At a very tight circuit where there's not much room for error. We're seeing already some drivers getting quite close to each other on their first qualifying laps. Looks like Scotty McQueen, James Corbett and Arthur Brown are fighting over the same piece of racetrack in their own little group. But coming up to the chicane, I think some of that's going to be sorted out. I'll surely not James Corbett having a little look into the chicane here. I think there's going to be some drama before the end of the session.
Well, that's held them up, and Alex Sprague actually made a big amount of time onto the back of them, but the big problem for Sprague now is that he had to check up as well, so this isn't going to be a great qualifying lap for him. Sprague's going to have to bail. I think these guys, this lap is not critical. The tyres are still in their way up on this lap. That will solve the problem. So there out goes Arthur Brown, and he'll go to the tail end of the field. I think he might have just gotten the barrier, so there might be a lick of damage on that car. Might have to come back in and try and get that one repaired, get a fresh car, get back out there. But the problem is, I don't think the tyres are up for lap 1. So realistically, all of this competition for track position on this opening lap is all for naught, because this lap doesn't really mean anything in the session at large.
Yeah, you're just trying to set a banker, really, something to go off and judge yourself against for your main laps. The new iRacing tyre model also on these Toyota 86s, so the first lap isn't always the fastest. First lap times are in, and Paul Booth and Corey Crossan are the only ones to set lap times in the moment. But Hugo Allen and Cooper Prout immediately set the pace once again. 1:42.146, the fastest lap thus far.
Yeah, and that'll be challenging as well because we've already talked about off tracks and course cut penalties and those sorts of things. So giving yourself an opportunity to set a valid lap time is very, very important. Minute 40, you know, long lap to try and get back around and try and get yourself set up to actually start a qualifying run. Going to have somewhere in the realm about 8-9 laps to try and get a qualifying lap together. Tyres did come up pretty reasonably. Hugo Allen, in terms of practice pace versus qualifying pace, his first flying lap was actually about 0.3 faster than anything he'd previously set. That says to me this track's actually quite quick early on, Reese, and I'm still thinking those tyres, reasonable lap times, but I still think there's more pace in it, so this is a very, very quick track right now.
Yeah, it is. Track temperature is on the low side, only 19 degrees Celsius. The in-sim time and date is the same as it is in the real world, so February the 11th. And, of course, Zolder is in Belgium. It's winter there right now, so obviously the track is a bit cooler than you would otherwise expect. It's also about 10:30 in the morning, so the track will be heating up a little bit as time goes on. There is also potential for rain to come down at some point during the night, but we were talking before we went live, Scott. Apparently you're a bad luck charm when it comes to wet weather.
So there's a couple of weeks I've actually been away from commentating duties, just with a few bits and pieces go on. Every single race I've been away, the rain has bucketed down. I show back up, all of a sudden conditions clear up and they're lovely and dry, and there's nothing going on. Yeah, so in terms of the night's racing action, basically from the first race of the night, got about a 6 to 12% chance of rain for that one. And as we get deeper into the night, it goes up. It's looking like our last race of the night's got about a 60% chance of rain. Don't know how heavy. We don't have any data on exactly how heavy into that rain's going to be, but this could be the driest that we actually see. Is this is the best opportunity to put lap times together. We might have spotty rain that might not necessitate a crossover, but for me, I think the critical thing is, Reese, unless it buckets down heavily, changing tyres is going to cost you so much more time than you're going to gain. So whatever tyre you are on, you are stuck on that selection.
That you are, and the dry tyres for these cars are semi-slick, so they do still have a couple of grooves cut in them. They deal with the wet a little bit better than a full-blown race slick tyre, but you will still have to take good care around the circuit. Especially over the curbs. Curbs and white lines, that any painted surface really gets slippery in wet conditions, and this is the kind of track where you have to use the curbs to get the best lap time.
Well, and remember earlier on we were talking about how this is custom and it's fixed set, so there's no opportunity for the drivers to get in there and tinker away with brake bias, ABS, traction control, none of those things, all disabled from a driver's perspective. The only thing they can change is the tyre they're on. If it's a wet tyre, it's a dry tyre for the car. So that's the only lever that these guys can pull. The big thing associated with that as well, think about traction control. You want a lot more support from that. And then you mentioned it, the curbs, the painted surfaces. You're using so much of that around here. And I think a lot of the chicanes, you basically just have to point it at the chicane and lift and float it through the chicane. That's the only option you're going to have in the wet, really. The trickiest portion of the track in the wet is actually going to be 6, 7, and into 8. I think the second chicane, really, because you're going to have to cut across this. There's no way to get through those corners and hang on to the car. You have to put it in some tricky positions. We are going. If the rain comes down, I would not be surprised if we see major dramas tonight. This is a bad track for it. This is a really, really difficult track where you have to make bad decisions right throughout the lap. There is no good decision.
Yes, well, all of the decisions coming together in the right way at the moment for Alex Sprague, who is maintaining provisional pole for race 1, a 1:42.02. That's a little bit off the fastest pace that we've seen from drivers in practice. Ewan Baker top practice on a 1:41.46. So there's about half a second more in the lap, potentially, if you can nail every single aspect of the lap. Josh Silcock, Cooper Prout, Hugo Allen and Avon Dunny are top 5, and I'm looking for big things from Avon Dunn in this competition. Was on pace at the bend and battling for the lead at points, but couldn't fully capitalize on the pace that he was able to carry their drivers, making their way into the pits as well off these qualifying laps. Let's see if Dunn makes any improvement on this lap as Ewan Baker goes to provisional pole, down into the 41s for the first time. Avon Dunn does not improve, but man, Ewan Baker has come here ready to play.
Yeah, and he was just biting away his time. He was sitting about 7th or 8th on the timing tower, just picking away at it, picking away at it, picking away at it, and just keeping an eye on him at the moment. He's picking up quite a draft from Paul Booth, so he's going to try and improve on that lap time. Avon Dunn, Flores, this is down through 2, 3, and he's, I think, just a little bit, no, he is pressing on with the lap, so I thought he might have been out of it a fraction, just trying to find some space to work with. And again, it's how much risk are you taking? Keep your eyes on this next chicane. That's Ewan Baker and Paul Booth just down the road from Avon Dunn at the moment. So watch this. Watch how much risk he's going to take. He was right up and against the painted lines and the grass. Looked like he might have had the right-hand side tyres into the grass on the entry of that chicane. But you have to attack it. You have to be aggressive and you have to take risks.
Yes, looks like he had a good run out of the chicane there. May have cut beyond the track limits in the Villeneuve chicane, but we'll have to wait and see until the lap comes around here. Dunn with no one in front of him, no slipstream to speak of, but you won't need much of it around here. Nail the power. These cars don't have much in the way of power. It is only a 4-cylinder powering these, but they carry enough pace that you need to keep your momentum up through the corners and be very careful not to mash the throttle. Avon Dunn abandoning that lap and going back into pit lane to reset once again. Everyone's out there at the moment, all trying to make improvements. Josh Silcock on the outside looking in. All he needs to do is gain 1/10 of a second and he'll be on the front row. Yeah, so right up there, times have definitely improved. And still coming through. So for Sprague, a lot of these guys have actually nipped back into the pit lane and picked up a little bit of extra fuel. When they've come down the pit lane, it's actually had nothing to do with wanting to put some fresh tyres on. I've just checked back in with Alex Sprague. He actually went wide at turn 1, turn 2. So he'll have to abort and get a little bit more time. There is enough time for 1 more, maybe 2 more laps at the moment. So there is an opportunity. Hugo Allen, I think, just improved. No, sorry, his lap time's still from the start of the session. There's a few more drivers who jumped into pit lane. James McIver just put a lap together as well. He jumps up and inside the top 10. Our fan vote winner from last week, the number 67, jumping up into P7, was down the order in practice. He said himself to us some time ago that he wasn't entirely happy with how practice went for him, but now he's on it in qualifying. And just looking at those gaps, there's barely anything in it. The top 10 is covered by just half a second. It's super close out there. And small cars, not a lot of power, not a lot of room for error. But that's the big thing, is it's all momentum carrying. So, you know, turning the car back early, I really think this car is one of the best in terms of producing best talent coming forwards, because you have to be really, really good at trail braking this car. You've also got to be good at carrying mid-corner speed to be quick in this car. You can't hide from those attributes. You've got to be balanced. You've got to understand exactly where the weight of the car is. Like I said earlier on, pick up that throttle, that whole front end on low. So again, smart, thinking through how you're planning, how you're putting all the laps together and those sorts of things, and just extracting pace from the car. Again, basics. Get your basics right, and then if you want to step up in the future and go on to some bigger and brighter things, you've got to be doing everything in this car right before you even get there. So it's perfect for all of those attributes. Keeping an eye on the gravel through turn 1. I've seen a lot of drivers running wide now at turn 1. There's a lot of kitty litter still sitting just off the line, so you've got to be careful with the line through turn 1 and carrying too much speed. Too much speed, rear end comes out and around from you, go out towards that gravel. James Corbett picking off another car in the queue. P's and Q's, the big thing I'm noticing as well, for such a narrow, tight racetrack, everyone's actually minding their P's and Q's in qualifying. There hasn't really been that first lap we talked about was about the only time a few drivers were getting in each other's way. Yeah, it looks like everyone's branched off onto slightly different run plans, and now there's plenty of space for drivers to maximize their laps here. So it's good to see no one's getting in each other's way in the session, and we can see the drivers' full potential all the way through the field. Tim Sullivan making his way through the Villeneuve chicane. Sullivan at the moment down in 20th position. The car 929 looking to gain half a tenth to make up one position. But if he manages to gain half a second, he'll get himself up into the top 15. That's how much just a few tenths of a second is worth around here. But by and large, through the field, I haven't seen many significant improvements. It looks like as we close out the session, actually, it's going to be a hard cut to the end, being a multi-race server. There's only a few drivers who see potential for making any improvements here.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on this. There's a little bit of talking about potentially. We just said that we're minding their P's and Q's. Yeah, that all changed in a few moments. There's a few drivers had moments through the chicane as well. Sprague's had to abandon another lap. He won't have enough time to get this extra one in. So with 20 seconds left in terms of qualifying, I'm just keeping half an eye on. There's a couple drivers. Josh Silcock at the moment is coming to the final sector, and I think he's had a dramas. Yeah, he's back in a pit lane, practicing a pit lane entry. A few drivers in there. James McIver was another one, so he's not going to improve. Ninth place, Scotty McQueen. He's already abandoned his lap. 10 seconds left. There's no one else on a lap. That's our grid. That's how they're going to start race one.
And in 3, 2, 1, we are going to see everyone disappear off the circuit and reset for the first of our 3 races today. 12 laps on the cards for race 1. What an incredible sequence of drivers we have here. But Ewan Baker is going to be the one setting the pace at the front of the field here. He is starting on pole with Alex Sprague alongside him. Josh Silcock and Cooper Prout, 3rd and 4th. Hugo Allen, our wildcard entry, also the man who curated the setup for this series, going to be starting 5th alongside Avon Dunn. James McIver going to start P7 alongside Bryce Harding, and then rounding out the top 10 will be Scotty McQueen and Mitchell Sparrow.
Yeah, we'll move back to the first row outside of the 10, and that will get us back to Dylan Jordan from James Corbin in 11th and 12th on row number 6. Row number 7, Arthur Brown had a troubled qualifying session. Couple moments for him, unfortunately. He'll line up alongside of Ross Buchan on 14th spot. Christopher Tipper out of 15th spot, and Paul Booth, I mentioned he was running in and around Ewan Baker at one point in that session as well. Billy Rowley from Graham Wall back to 17th and 18th. Back to the 42.9s for those two guys. Back into the 43s for the last row inside of the top 20 with Justin Davies and Corey Crowson.
Tim Sullivan starts 21st, just outside the margin to get into the top 20. Nico Cordier alongside Henry Fires and Hayden Kirk, 23rd and 24th. That is your last full row of the grid. Starting dead last is the 099 of Darren Lobb. Now, one thing that really struck out to me with Darren Lobb at round 1 was he didn't qualify too well there either, but he was right up there in the race. He was able to take advantage of mistakes from others and just outrace people to start fighting for a top 10 place. And we're going to have to keep an eye on that top 10 because there is a top 10 grid invert for the start of race 2. Whoever finishes in 10th in this one will be starting on pole for the second race. And it's all going to begin right now. Just a few seconds remaining on the grid timer. Standing start, no traction control. You will have to nail your run off the grid here for the best run into turn 1. Oh dear, that's not ideal. Ewan Baker and Alex Sprague were on the front row, but Bryce Harding is going to be the one leading the way into turn 1 with an immediate and brutal penalty applied to him by the automated stewards. Alex Sprague in front into turn 1. But Ewan Baker fights back on the exit. Big oversteer moment from Baker. And Sprague will take advantage. So will Josh Silcock. A crash at the back. And yep, that's Christopher Tipper that's gone around.
Yeah, a little bit of contact by the sounds of that one for that. That's immediately been called to the stewards to try and get out there and have a look at. James McIver, I believe, rolled off for 7th place. He still runs 7th at this point in time. And again, Bryce Harding's going to disappear down the road, but he's going to have a penalty to come through and serve. They're 2 wide as they come off of turn 4. They're going to look to go 3 wide because Hugo Allen, we mentioned the aggression, gets to the inside of Josh Silcock. They all managed to sort it out before the chicane. That was a set. That was bravery. And he just stuck the nose in there and said, boys, I'm coming on through. Figure it out.
Dylan Jordan and James Corbin also fighting with each other through the chicane. They've sorted themselves out. I am very pleasantly surprised. It was a clean run through the chicane for just about everybody, but the fighting is going on here at the back. Look at how many cars are squabbling over these minor positions. Darren Lobb is on the move. He's made his way up to 19th, but oh dear, I think that's him spinning around there coming out of Villeneuve, and his hard work over the first half of lap 1 has been undone.
Yeah, that it was. Looks like the car might be okay, so he might be able to get back on there. And with the amount that these guys are fighting at this point in time, there'll be opportunities that present themselves. You've got to make sure that you keep yourself alive. At the moment, up at the pointy end of the track, it's Silcock that's lost spots on lap number 1. Sprague is leading the way. He's managed to get the jump. He's managed to steal the position away from Ewan Baker. And now, can he defend? Can he put points on the board? And have a look at them out of the final chicane in the background as well. They are already going at it. This is why we like 86s.
Yeah, exactly. This is almost the perfect track for them with the way it flows and how much space you have through these opening corners to fling one up the inside. But our leaders stay as they are. Our effective leaders, it should be pointed out. Bryce Harding, no surprise to see, has a black flag to his name for jumping the start, but he is going to stay out in front for now. He has 3 laps to serve that penalty. Otherwise, he risks being disqualified by the automated system.
Well, hey mate, he's going to put his hand up and say, hi, I led laps today. I did really, really well. I led laps today. It doesn't matter how he got there. He still did lead them. But anyway, Ewan Baker starting to crawl in on the rear bumper now. The problem will be is these guys are so close together in terms of pace. Ewan tries to make him cover. Cover he does on the way into the second of the chicanes. Doesn't get the run he was looking for. Sprague nailed the apex, is just a little bit better. Prout's starting to go along with these guys as well. Remember, 2 points worth of difference between effective second and third on the road. So if Prout can get one over Ewan Baker, he would love to put those points on the board.
Yep, only 2 points separating them at the top of the standings coming into this round. Scotty McQueen has been making moves as well. He and James McIver are fighting tooth and nail over 7th place on the road at the moment, and James Corbin is right with them. Plenty of action outside of this top 6, which are now content to run in a line, but there's McIver. Around the outside of McQueen trying, and there's contact. McQueen getting sent around just in time for the rest of the field to come up on them. That's a few cars involved in that one. McQueen gets rolling, so does James Corbin and Billy Rowley, but they are all way down the order now. McIver still under threat. Mitchell Sparrow diving up the inside at turn 1.
Yeah, Paul Booth as well got put to the outside. Nico Cordier, there's a car that's gone around again. It's the RIT car of Justin Davies, who's had a spin at turn 1. There's a lot of cars starting to fight. I just saw it's Ross Buchanan, who had a little bit of contact from Hayden Kirk to the inside of turn 2 as well. They're 3 wide in the background as they get down towards turn 4. The battle is on for the race leaders. These guys up at the point start to change positions. Baker has gone back to the point. Finally, Sprague will have to try and stick with him, and Prout's been able to go with them, but Hugo Allen again just lurks from the mist and finds his way towards the point in these things.
Yes. Meanwhile, Justin Davies with some drama in the opening laps. We will get our first replay of the night thanks to Creme Insurance and see exactly what happened to him. Sitting down in 21st now as a result of this incident at turn 1, making his way through all right, but then a big slide on the exit. It looked like potentially a poor run off the curb and unsettling the car with the weight transfer not being ideal. In the background, it looked like that was Billy Rowley spinning. His damage that he sustained from that final chicane incident resulting in some major crabbing.
Yeah, there was a lot of damage to a number of cars that were all the way back there as well. Arthur Brown, I think, had actually picked up some sort of drama as well. Alex Sprague's picked up a slowdown penalty coming out of the final chicane.
Oh no!
So there was a little bit of too much usage of the track limits. He gives up those spots, and now it's going to be the 2 teammates of Prout and Allen. They'll be forced to try and chase back down our race leader.
Well, now Hugo Allen takes point in the battle there. Prout having to let him go into turn 2. And Hugo Allen, one of our wildcard entries here. Mark Mallard and the team at Creme Insurance choosing certain drivers from the real-world racing scene in New Zealand, as well as accomplished esports drivers, to serve as a test of measure against the drivers competing in this championship. And if anyone's going to be a measure of your pace, it is Hugo Allen. Of course, the reigning real-life NZ Toyota 86 champion. Josh Silcock just trailing off the back of the top 5 at the moment. He was able to stay in touch with these guys early on, but it looks like a poor run through the first part of the lap, putting him on the back foot.
And this pack is sort of still recovering from slowdown penalties as well. So Sprague's gone from P2 back to the tail end of that. So that compromised the momentum of that whole pack as well. So if Silcock can just find some time, just taking a quick look a little bit further back, Mitchell Sparrow's just pitched himself up a slowdown penalty through the second chicane. That was Tipper jumping out of the way to try and let the field through. He's unfortunately had dramas on the opening couple laps and been forced to come through the pit lane for a service. And that was Mitchell Sparrow serving his slowdown penalty. That'll allow Dylan Jordan to grab one spot there and move up to 7th spot. James McIver's also been running away, just in a little world of his own at the moment, sitting in 6th spot. So comfortable and speedy, but I think the big thing we're sort of noticing at the moment, Reese, is how much the battling has broken these guys up. We're already 4 laps into this one, at the end of that 4th lap, and the field has actually been really, really split. That top 5 have gotten away. Everybody else was so compromised in the battle they were having.
Yeah, it looks like the entire field covered by about 35 seconds now, minus the cars that are a lap down. Avon Dunn versus Arthur Brown into turn 1. Dunn with a bit more momentum on the outside. It looks like he might. Oh, for a second I thought he was able to carry the momentum there, as re-emerging. That's Graham Wall, actually, that was slow on the inside of turn 1. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but Dunn is continuing to try and stay at the front of this pack. He's under major pressure now from Graham Wall round the outside of turn 4. Looks like Dunn's been forced defensive.
Yeah, Nico Cordier just barely chopped the nose of Hayden Kirk as well. Kirk's locked a spot to Scotty McQueen into the chicane. Are we actually going to go 2 by 2 through here, boys? Try and sort it out. Now it's going to be around the outside. Cordier has managed to nick that spot off of Avon Dunn, because Dunn was forced to bounce up and over the non-preferred side of the track through the curves. Didn't pick up a slowdown penalty. He'll only lose the 2 spots. Will he make it 3? Because McQueen is keen for a run at him as well.
Oh, just enough room left to the inside for Avon Dunn to keep driving out of the corner there versus McQueen. And the geometric fastest line will be to his favour through the next couple of corners, seeing as well that Hayden Kirk is looking to make moves in all of this as well. He's the car behind these two as they're side by side through the hairpin. And for the moment, it looks like the wider line is going to be favouring McQueen. He'll have the inside for the final chicane. And it was already the subject of one of our incidents here at that final chicane. Slight look there from Hayden Kirk, but it turns into a defence from Ross Buchanan. And meanwhile, Avon Dunn somehow managing to keep McQueen behind. This is only the battle for 14th. They're racing like it's for the win.
Well, actually, he picked up a slowdown penalty out of that final chicane, so he cut a little bit of it. McQueen was leaning on him. Hayden Kirk lifted out of the throttle and tapped the brake about 5 or 6 times on that lap, because he had a run, but just nowhere to take it. The track was sort of covered, the track was log jammed, and he couldn't go anywhere. Darren Lobbs back in this group on the outside, gets a little bit of contact from Henry Fires. So this battle pack, it might be for 14th on back, but it's really, really aggressive. All of these guys want to be in that 10th spot, but 10th is disappearing down the road.
Yeah, 10th currently in the hands of Paul Booth, as there's been a change for the lead. Ewan Baker giving way to Hugo Allen at the first chicane, and now Cooper Prout sees the opportunity to make some moves. Baker offline through Villeneuve, and we'll see what Prout can do here down at the hairpin. Baker goes defensive early. He knows that he's going to have to defend here, and this is still for the effective race win. Hugo Allen may be in the lead, but as a wildcard entry, he's not eligible for championship points. So Baker needs to protect from Prout for all it's worth.
Yeah, that'll be the big focus, and he'll be aware of that. So don't be too surprised if he's willing to just not even race that one whatsoever. But here comes the move now from Cooper Prout. Prout's starting to find a little bit of speed. So these guys were hiding something in the practice session. Qualifying pace finally showed up and arrived. That's been pretty typical from Hugo Allen over the last couple of years as well. The run now from Cooper Proud as he tries pushing Ewan Baker down the start-finish straight. They're going to go side by side at a turn 1. Inside at 1 becomes outside at 2, but Baker's run a touch wide and he'll pick up a little bit of the gravel.
Oh, this is going to bring Alex Sprague back into it. Baker trying his best here. A little bit of contact there between Baker and Prout, and Sprague has to be checked up as a result. Josh Silcock finds himself in 4th now, and at the effective race podium, it's going to be almost effective 2nd for him here as he's up the inside of turn 4 and past Baker. Cooper Prout will be loving this in his mirrors. He's driving away from them now.
Absolutely disappearing up the road. Little bit of support from Alex Sprague gets Ewan Baker through. Silcock elects to back out throughout that one, which is smart. They didn't fight it when they got to the chicane. Speed carried from Ewan Baker. Instead of being on the defensive, now he's going to go back on the offensive. It hasn't worked, unfortunately, for him as he'll slide down the order. Silcock got dragged back into this one with all the battling that's gone on as well. So he goes from out on his own for 5th to contending in this little battle pack for P2 on the road. Allen starts to disappear down the road, and finally we get a bit of a breather. Gee whiz, what a couple of laps.
Yeah, it's a non-stop action here, and while it may be sorted out somewhat for the win, it's certainly not over for this 11th spot here. Graham Wall and Nico Cordier in front of Scotty McQueen, who's got Arthur Brown right behind him. And we got to wait and see if Brown's going to go for it here, or is someone else going to go for it. Hayden Kirk, 3 wide on the way in. He's gone too deep, and that's going to be the gravel trap for the KSR driver. He'll fall all the way to the back of the pack. Reminder of the fan vote. If any driver sticks out to you tonight, get on the NZ Sim Racing TV socials. After this broadcast is done, there will be a fan vote. You can vote for your favorite driver and get in the running to win a pair of sim racing gloves from Speednation. Things starting to heat up again in the battle for the effective lead. Hugo Allen is now out in front by 3.6 seconds, but Ewan Baker has found his way back to the front of the pack. There was a lot of jostling in the opening turns. Cooper Prout, Alex Sprague and Josh Silcock are right on his tail.
With the amount of time Ewan Baker's pulled back out of them as well, I reckon that Cooper Prout might have just come a cropper of the track limits again and picked himself up a slowdown penalty. So even the leaders are pushing those boundaries. Look at them smash the curves through 5 and 6. Gee, they're just taking every little limit. And that's the benefit of the 86. Lovely soft suspension. It can handle massive impacts through those curves, but you've got to attack them. You've really got to throw the car around. Sprague, a little bit of a mistake through the second chicane. I love watching these things around this racetrack because you just see them get immense amounts of air and you're like, yep, that car can actually take that. It's a good thing this is sim racing. That'd probably hurt IRL.
Oh yeah, certainly, and in earlier versions of the physics for this car on the sim, you had to stay away from curbs like that because they would likely send the car flipping, but that's not the case anymore. Center of gravity was brought down in one of the more recent iRacing build updates, and so the car is a lot more pliable across those big curbs. I love the results we're seeing from that.
Yeah, and well, probably if you're thinking about getting a little bit of driver training and coaching about where the track limits are, that's the important time to get the Apex Lab sponsorship up and on the screen as well. Most positions gained across the rounds, 6-month subscription to Apex Lab and their driver coaching tools as well. So that was perfectly timed in terms of how to manage the lap time. For Josh Silcock, I think he's looking at the back of these guys and just maybe watching and learning and thinking about where he can apply some pressure and have a crack at the moment. But for now, he's just sort of sitting there and watching. Ewan Baker, back to the point of this group, has actually started to open up that margin just a little bit. So Proud had an opportunity here, and he'll be kicking himself. I really do think there was a slowdown penalty in the middle of that one. It'd be gut-wrenching to know one tiny little error forced you to give up that much time that you've given up potentially the championship lead.
Yeah, indeed. It's only a 4-round final series, so every single result counts, and consistency is key. There's going to be a lot on the cards for Josh Silcock. He's got some real-life race experience on hand. He's the 1300cc mainland rally champion of 2025. Corey Crossan, meanwhile, sits in P10. He's been fighting with Paul Booth for 9th position for a while. He's lost that position to Booth, but I don't think he's too cut up about it. He's in race 2 pole at the moment.
Yeah, that's important as well. Keep working on your night, and that position's changed hands a few times as well. Paul Booth's finally gained a little bit of speed and managed to pick that one off, so good for him. Cordier in that battle pack that's in behind these guys, he's finally got free at the head of that one, after Brown as well, in 13 spots. So they've finally started to settle down. I know there's a fair bit of damage on the Scotty McQueen car, at least there was on the side pedals of that car. The front and back of it, not too bad, but it's all been elbows out for Scotty McQueen in this one, which he never backs down from a battle, does he? He's always got the elbows out. He's you either love him or you hate him for it, but one of the things is it's just about one of those drivers I've always got a camera pointed at.
Yeah, one of the most entertaining drivers in the field. Unfortunately, that elbows out attitude has meant that he's started 9th and is currently running 15th, so needs a miracle to get back up to that spot. Cooper Prout setting some pretty good times in the last few laps to stay in touch with Ewan Baker, but Alex Sprague appears to be the quickest of this group at the moment, not by much, only half a tenth if that, but it's those small fractions of a second that make all the difference in a series like this.
Yeah, absolutely, particularly when you put it together lap after lap after lap, and as you work your way up the field, that's the thing, isn't it? You're not just quick, you're consistent. Some of the guys that are sort of in that midfield, they can show that speed from time to time, but they're not really able to hit those markers really consistently. If you're going to be at the pointy end. I can't believe that Hugo Allen's disappeared down the road at 2.5. Normally draft your way back up to them. They generally can't disappear down the road, but he's just been quick, he's been consistent, he's just been out of here at the pointy end of this thing. So yeah, back in the series, back in a fair bit of form, and displaying the skills that have taken to him to the top. Something's just happened to Henry Fires on the radio at the moment.
Oh, and Darren Lobb has fallen back down the order as well. I think there might have been a coming together between those guys. 2 laps to go in race number 1 here. We'll keep an eye out for exactly what happened between Lobb and Fires, if it indeed was between them. But Ewan Baker for the race win points. Not the race win on the road, but he will get points for the race win. Currently sitting about 9/10 ahead of Cooper Prout, so he's got a good gap to manage at the moment. Replay then. Thanks to Creme Insurance, we will get the story of what that race control call was all about. And it was side by side here. Darren Lobb, the black car behind these guys, Fires there with some contact, and it looks like it wasn't directly between Fires and Lobb.
Yeah, it's just secondary contact, but you know, when you're battling, you run a fraction wide, you're going to trip over those guys. And again, narrow, this is what we're talking about, the claustrophobia of this place. It's so narrow. Even the 86s being a smaller car struggle to get side by side a lot of the times, and carry that speed through tight chicanes where if you haven't got the apex at one, well, you're not going to get you're going to get the apex come back your way on the second one. But if you get the apex at the first half of the chicane, it goes away from you at the second one. So setting all that up and actually being overlapped through those chicanes, very, very difficult.
Quite difficult indeed. Alex Sprague then pushing as hard as he can on the exit, using all of the curb and then some to get the momentum out of the hairpin here. Currently will get points for 3rd place as we get him come around to start the final lap of race 1. But the gaps between the 2nd to 5th pack here starting to get a little bit too big for any potential for moves. Maybe Alex Sprague is going to change that in a few moments, because he got a great run out of the final chicane. Cooper Prout under pressure. A slight look from Sprague, but not quite enough to unsettle Cooper.
Yep, so again, continuing to challenge each other, but Cooper's going to run a touch wide at turn 1 on the final lap of this one. And that all of a sudden opens the door, and he looks for the switch back to Alex Sprague, trying to get the nose back up underneath. Wasn't able to carry enough speed off of 2. Maybe he'll be able to carry it off at 3. Looks, makes and forces the cover from Mr. Cooper Prout at this point in time. And Silcock just sits and watches him behind, and he's waiting for a position to nearly fall into his lap at the moment. Defensive coming off of 4 Reese.
Yeah, let's see then. Whoa, that's a big move back to the racing line there for Prout, smashing across the curbs. If there's a coming together between these two, Josh Silcock is right there to take advantage. Inside for the left-hand sweeper is left open, but Prout is positioning his car well, defensive through the Villeneuve chicane, carries the speed nicely, and Alex Sprague suffers some understeer as a result. There still could be a chance for Josh Silcock to get onto the effective podium. Hugo Allen has jetted away from these guys at the front of the field. Last chance gasp into the hairpin for quite a few drivers in this field. Looks like Sprague was defensive on Silcock there, but Hugo Allen in the lead by over 2 seconds now. Once he made that move on Ewan Baker, he did not look back. He made the setup for this series. He is the real world NZ Toyota 86 champion, and he is going to take the win in race 1 here at Zolder. Hugo Allen across the line first, but Ewan Baker is going to get the points for the race win here today. Cooper Prout keeps Alex Sprague behind for effective second and third. Josh Silcock rounding out your effective top 4 there. Mitchell Sparrow and Dylan Jordan will be 7th and 8th on the road. Nice battle between them towards the end. And Paul Booth and Corey Crowson, plenty of space between them, but Crowson's going to be happy. He's got pole for race 2.
Yeah, and a clear nose. And the critical thing about this circuit, we've already talked about how difficult it is to overtake. That'll be important. Scotty McQueen gets through to 13th spot. There's a little bit of fighting in the background as well for 14th and 15th spot for Corbin. They all get across the start-finish line. They'll start to spread their way back out. So it'll be James Corbin from Justin Davies and Avon Dunn. Hayden Kirk will get across the line behind them. And Arthur Brown looks like he fell off a lot of spots at the back end of that one. So issues for the 222 driver. Ends up finishing, get this, 222 car in 22nd spot. Some sort of issue in that final lap of the race.
Yeah, he had to bring it into the pits and didn't come back out, so he'll be classed a lap down ultimately. The results then for the first race here today, it was Hugo Allen, the wild card, coming away with the on-track victory. Ewan Baker and Cooper Prout, the podium, with Alex Sprague and Josh Silcock rounding out your top 5. About 3.7 seconds back to James McIver. Wasn't quite able to catch up to that front pack. Mitchell Sparrow and Dylan Jordan, 7th and 8th. Paul Booth and Corey Crossan, inverted, will be your front row for the second race.
Yeah, and that'll be the critical thing, won't it? Is how do they get away out of that one? Nico Cordier from Scotty McQueen gets back to 12th spot in the very dying stages of that one from Graham Moore, Ross Buchan, James Corbin in 15th. Justin Davies from Avon Dunn. Hayden Kirk, Darren Lobb home on the lead lap, and Bryce Harding, the last car inside of the top 20.
Henry Fires had some contact in the late stages, has to settle for 21st place, but still gains 2 positions on his starting spot. Arthur Brown pulling into the pits a lap from the end. Christopher Tipper 2 laps down. Tim Sullivan 3 laps down, and Billy Rowley involved in the final chicane incident at the end of the first lap. Did not come back out of the pits. It was 9 laps down for him. We are going to be joined by Ewan Baker now, who finished second on the road, but has points for the first win of the night. Ewan, welcome. Goodness me. Only 2 points between yourself and Cooper Prout coming into this round, but it looks like that was a nice fight back there for the first part of tonight.
Yeah, finally, considering how round 1 went, this one was far more to plan, which is great. Made a slight mistake towards the end there. I was one to try to hang on to Hugo, and then, ran a bit wide and invited Cooper in. So, made it more of a race towards the end than I intended. But, it's good to get the points and stretch the lead a little.
A tough track that we're racing at for round 2. Plenty of big curbs that encourage some airborne shenanigans. Do you think that the risk can be brought down a little bit, or is the field just close enough that you need to take those risks?
Honestly, with the pace of the field, you do have to take risks. It's a very fine line. Like, you can really abuse the curbs around here and gain a lot of time for it. So you do need to be running quite on the edge. The big danger zone's the first chicane and the end of the back straight. Just if you hit that wrong, it can not only give you a slowdown, but send you off into the gravel or the fence. So it's a little bit of caution in coming into that one. But the other ones, you have to be pretty committed and just hope you don't get a slowdown.
Well, regardless, it's going to be a top 10 invert for race 2. You will be starting in 9th. Do you think you'll be able to come back through for a podium?
I reckon so. I think the pace is good. It's just going to be about being smart and being cautious. Try and finish more than anything. I mean, it's like last Last round, I did not have a great round, yet came out with the championship lead just by being consistent when other people got into strife. So if I keep that mantra going forward, hopefully it should come up pretty good.
All right, well, wishing you the best of luck, Ewan. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see how you do in the second race.
Thanks very much.
Ewan Baker, second on the road in race number 1 here, and it's time once again for the grid for race 2. As we mentioned, top 10 inverted, so Corey Crossan is going to be starting on pole position with Paul Booth alongside. Dylan Jordan, nice turnaround from race 1, from 11th to 8th, and now he will start 3rd for race 2. Mitchell Sparrow alongside him. James McIver rounding out the top 5 alongside Josh Silcock, Alex Sprague and Cooper Prout 7th and 8th, and the 5th row of the grid is Ewan Baker and Hugo Allen. From there back, Scott, it's where they finished in race 1.
That it is, the invert. After that, we get to 11th place, Nico Cordier and Scotty McQueen. This will be an interesting one to keep an eye on to turn 1. Graham Wall will be on the inside of row number 7 alongside of Ross Buchan. James Corbin and Justin Davies both had the elbows out in that one. We'll see how they go from row number 8. Avon Dunn and Hayden Kirk. Gee, that was an interesting battle, and I get the feeling these two are not going to be on the best of terms at the moment. On row number 9, Darren Lobb and Bryce Harding round out the 10th row.
Henry Fires going to be one of many drivers looking for a turnaround from race 1. Arthur Browen as well. Christopher Tipper, Tim Sullivan and Billy Rowley will round out our 25 entries to take to the start of this second race. Now, keeping an eye on the weather, I'm not seeing any sign of rain just yet. Looks like the rain chance is down to about 28% in about an hour and a half's time, which should coincide roughly with the start of race 3. But it's going to be another dry run for everybody. The track temperature remaining at 19 degrees Celsius. So the drivers will be pushing just as hard as they have in race 1. But those gaps that formed very early on in race 1 is something we're going to be keeping an eye out for in this second race. Whoever gets a clean run at the front of the field will be trying their best to skip away. That's the grid timer done. And it's time for the standing start once more into this short run towards the first turn. Revs rise, clutches in, ready to dump at the starter's call. And we are away for race number 2 here at Zolder. It's a clean start from Corey Crossan and Paul Booth. They're pretty much equal. Doesn't look like anyone's made huge jumps up through the field. Cooper Prout is under pressure from Ewan Baker and Hugo Allen, and Baker is caught in the middle of them. Big slide for Baker. He's going to drop back a couple more positions potentially. Under pressure from Nico Cordier and Scotty McQueen. McQueen getting up the inside there of the championship leader coming into this round. It's on. Oh!
It is. Someone just ran around in the background, and it's going to be tumbling down the order at the moment. There's unfortunately, Graham Wall, who's gone around at turn 2. There's another car around at turn 4 as well. Just rotated off the outside. Was in and around Christopher Tipper and Brown. And I think it's Henry Fires who's been fired off into turn 4 in the gravel trap. Sprague is trying to cut his way through. He's got ahead of Silcock. Where have the race leaders gotten up to at this point in time? Proud is still trying to have a go at Silcock. They are getting the elbows down up and over the crest. Paul Booth is trying to serve a slowdown penalty. He started on the front row of the grid. He's lost a ton of spots. That'll actually give Silcock a little bit of cover to the chicane.
Certainly will. Booth files in between Silcock and Cooper Prout, and it looks like his pace will be slightly off here. Cooper Prout's going to have some big work to do. James McIver has made his way up to 4th in the midst of all of this, but he has to make room to the inside as Alex Sprague is trying his best to take advantage. Mitchell Sparrow will be hoping they run a bit side by side some more here at the end of the first lap, but it's a runaway lead at the moment for Corey Crossan. 0.7 of a second is the gap coming into the final chicane. Dylan Jordan in the runner-up spot at the moment.
Well, this is critical because there's just been a whole bunch of slowdown penalties from that final chicane. Crossan got one. James McIver got another. McIver's going to have to cede a couple spots at this point in time. Race control's looking at those incidents from the first lap as well. You've seen McIver. He's just sinking like a stone at the moment. Crossan got an elbow at turn 1. Slowdown penalty still not in his favour. Jordan's gone through. Sparrow's going to try and go the long way around. That penalty is still hanging over Crossan's head, you know. Hasn't quite cleared it to this point. Still going to have to live. Sprague is right there. Sprague is looking for a bank worth of points as they head to turn 4.
And Crossan will let Sprague by. Hopefully he's managed to clear that. Oh no, he didn't clear it in time. Corey Croson, what a turnaround in the wrong fashion there after starting from the front, not serving a slowdown in time. That is brutal. He's going to have to tour through pit lane.
James McIver's going side by side through the chicane, and it's going to be with Ewan Baker. McIver's got another slowdown penalty as they bounce their way through, and they get elbows out for that one. Hugo Allen cut his way through. Proud has now managed to gain a whole bunch of spots. He's moved up to 5th spot. Reese, we love the reverse grid races. 15 laps, get your elbows out, but do it smart. That's the key.
Yes, it certainly is. Close for the lead. Dylan Jordan getting rounded up by Mitchell Sparrow and Alex Sprague. Sparrow pokes the nose out and down the inside at the hairpin. We'll see if he's able to hold on to it. Jordan keeping the outside line, making it work, but he's going to be under so much pressure here. But it looks like there may be another slowdown penalty for a couple of drivers as Nico Cordier is falling down the order. The biggest gainer in race 1 is now outside the top 20.
Yeah, and going backwards still at this point in time. Fires has had dramas, Walls had dramas, Tim Sullivan, Nico Cordier's got a meatball flag. He'll jump to the pit lane. Hayden Kerr has got a slowdown penalty deeper in the field as well. They were 3 wide after the hairpin. Do you know how narrow that section of the racetrack is? I don't think there's enough room for 3 cars to fit across that track as they dive down towards turn number 1 for 13th spot. Bryce Harding and Justin Davies were going at it as well in the background. And then you've got this battle for the lead up at the pointy end of things. They're looking at 3 wide. The defensive moves, the aggressive moves, left, right, and center. If you're not punching, you're counter-punching, and that's how it goes in the pack.
There's a counter-punch coming here from Bryce Harding. Gets up the inside of Justin Davies at turn 4. Tight line on the way in, though, and there's not much room for error on the exit. See that the car ahead, I believe, of James Corbin left those wheel tracks in the gravel. On the way up to the hairpin, Harding still defensive here versus Justin Davies. This is a huge pack. It's got Ross Buchan, Arthur Brown, Christopher Tipper. McQueen is having problems. It looks like he's around somehow.
Yeah, he bounced over the chicane. There was damage on the rear end of his car somewhere in either the back end of the previous lap or the start of this lap as they're going to go side by side through the chicane, and McQueen just bounced over the chicane and it didn't work for him. Brown had a snap as they come through the second chicane, down through 7 and 8. And there was a call put into race control. McQueen was in a compromised situation, and that car will take no further part. We've got a safety car in race number 2. And there's going to be some debate because that was a dive bomb down at the hairpin and the car's been rotated.
Yeah, Billy Rowley around. Already had a very rough go of things tonight, but looks to me like potentially race control's going to have to look at that versus the timing of the safety car coming out. Obviously, ask permission to tow rule in effect for this series. So Scotty McQueen, all he's able to do is sit by the side of the racetrack and wait for that approval from race control to tow his car. Obviously, in the real world, you can't just hit escape to tow back to the garage. You got to wait for a truck to come and get your car, and this is our way of simulating that. So that does mean that the field is going to compress as a result of this safety car. Let's look at the reason why it happened, Scott.
Yeah, and it'll be looking for whether or not that's Scotty McQueen, because again, he had a lot of damage on the back end of his car. It just didn't like the curbing, and yeah, it is going to be this incident for Scotty McQueen. And you can just see his car's a little bit bent at that point in time, not tracking straight, and it's just a big hop over the curbs, rips the left front tire off with massive impact at the tire bundle. So yeah, he's going to be okay. He'll walk away from it. That's the benefit of sim racing, but no further part in race 2.
Yeah, it's a shame for McQueen. Made that error all on his own, and that's the price you pay for attacking those curbs. It can sometimes be up to the luck of the draw, really, to see whether you make it out straight. But BMW M2 safety car, driven by Matthew Pluck, up at the front of the field now as everyone brings it back under control. Race control going to be very busy here. The top 10 invert always throws a spanner into the works and increases the potential for incidents. We've certainly seen that. Interestingly, everyone from second place back appears to be slowing down a bit further behind the safety car. Dylan Jordan all on his own at the front here.
Yeah, so a little bit of grouping up and getting everyone line back up. So we won't be going green this time. It'll be the next lap we'll be going green as they wanted to get the field a little bit more condensed. They weren't happy with that at this point. A lot of guys were weaving and trying to get heat back into their tyres as well. It's everything they can possibly do. Dylan Jordan's got an opportunity. Just having a quick look. Ewan Baker's made no progress. In fact, he started at a 9th position in this one. Yeah, and he's actually gone back to 10th. So something would have happened just prior to that safety car, because he had actually made gain. And then somewhere in the middle of all that, he's lost ground again. So I don't know exactly what happened at the start of the lap before the safety car. He was in 8th, and now he sits 10th. So something did go on in the middle of that.
Yeah, not an ideal getaway from race 2 for Ewan Baker. He'll have to be right on the attack when they make their way back to green flag racing. As far as distance to run, it looks like at the end of this lap we will be 1/3 of the way through this race. So basically a 10-lap sprint, which is exactly what they're going to be getting for race 3. I think this is good practice for the final race.
Yeah, perfect little setup and tee off then. But yeah, just confirmed, race control just said safety car's going to be pulling away at the end of this lap, so we will be getting back to green flag. And they'll get an opportunity to keep warming their tyres for now, and then they'll get back after it. But Prout's gained a lot of spots, and the big thing, I was just taking a bit of a look through the points and the way that they're actually issued. So P1 to P2 is actually a bigger gain than further down in the pack. So it's actually 8 points between first and second, 7 points second to third, all the way down to 3 points per position from 6th spot. And then when we get back to 11th spot, it becomes 2 points per position. So the higher you are up the field, you actually get a bigger spread. So if Cooper Prout can get to 2nd or 3rd in this one, and we're not even saying, you know, he's still got enough time to potentially win it as well. If he wins it, that's a massive swing in points. There would be enough points to actually retake over the championship lead at the end of race 2.
Yeah, certainly will. And that brings to mind Ewan Baker once again, who's still languishing in 10th place. He will have a lot of pressure behind him from Harding, Davies, Buchan, Browen, Tipper and the like. Needs to stay with this front pack and make some decisive moves in these opening laps of the second green flag period while the field is still compressed. Single file rolling restart here to begin lap number 6. Dylan Jordan now under control here at the front of the field. He's going to get on the power through the final chicane, and he's actually waiting a little bit. Yeah, that's going to take people by surprise here. Mitchell Sparrow waiting for that call. Green flag surely in the air now. Dylan Jordan's going to wait all the way until the start-finish line to start accelerating, and that's going to put Sparrow on the back foot. Alex Sprague, oh, he wasn't able to get into the gap on the inside into turn 1, and I think Josh Silcock is going to take advantage with a much wider line on the way in. Battle is on for 3rd.
Yeah, the big thing is if you launch early or you launch at the apex of the last quarter, you're the one that makes any gain. But everyone thinks you're going to do that. That's the known quantity, the known strategy. I like the games that he played. He backed them all the way up. He didn't do anything wrong. He waited, and it was at the start-finish line he went. That's actually really, really smart. He's tried to do something to break them and see what chaos he can cast among the storm, because in Dylan Jordan's best favour at the moment is to make chaos happen. That'll give him an opportunity to try and skip clear, an opportunity to have a little bit few mistakes if he needs them. But what it's done, though, is created so much chaos that, look, I wouldn't want to be a steward right now. They've got a job to do.
They certainly have. The drivers have got a lot of work to do to get the lap times down as well, thanks to the safety car period and just how close everyone was in the opening laps. The fastest lap of the race is actually a 43.4 from Josh Silcock. That is 2.5 seconds, that is about 1.5 seconds, sorry, slower than Hugo Allen's fastest lap in race 1. Cooper Prout then trying his best to follow as Hugo Allen and Paul Booth go side by side through the corner. Prout up in behind Josh Silcock, and you can see a gap already starting to form here, but look at those moves there from Alex Sprague. He's trying to size up a move on Mitchell Sparrow, but they go side by side in the wrong place. Silcock and co will be right back on them.
And the tricky part is everyone's getting such massive advantage from the tyre that you all actually end up doing the same speed. So you got to try and build a run off the previous corner. A little bit of a cover from James McIver. I think it's it's a little bit of a mix of an aggressive move and a defensive move on the run down to turn number 1. Couple drivers making the gravel on the outside of 1 as they move their way down and through. Jordan is going to lead another one though. Sprague thinking about how am I going to pick my way through on Mitchell Sparrow. Cooper Prout starting to look at the rear bumper of Josh Silcock. Silcock was reasonably quick in that last race. He wasn't the lead quick guy, but he was there and thereabouts. So for Cooper Prout, it's going to be difficult to try and pick off. Think about that. He's going to be looking for an opportunity, and I think it's going to have to come from a mistake.
Yeah, that's the only way any gains will be made here. Ewan Baker trying to move his way up through the top 10, up behind James McIver. It's a nice run through the chicane for him, but I don't think he has enough momentum to get by at Villeneuve. Some drama further back. Darren Lobb losing positions, and he's down to 19th now. It looks like there's plenty of drama going on through the back of the field, but just as much drama here in the midfield and at the front. Baker losing touch there with James McIver, who is now sizing up Paul Booth for a move at the hairpin. Does he poke the nose out and go for it? Yes, he does. Gets alongside at the turn-in point, and Baker will be there to take the spoils and pick up the pieces. Look at the run out of the corner there from Baker, but he's boxed in.
And I don't think he's going to be able to do anything more than actually try and support James McIver, although McIver moves across and covers the inside line. Now they're going to go 3 wide of the chicane. No! That's a little bit silly. McIver's going to go around. Baker's going to be forced to cut it. Makes contact with McIver, and they're just stuck together. There's nothing they can really do at this point in time. It was tricky. It was a little bit aggressive, but Booth stuck the nose in, and it's gone bad for the other two.
Oh, that is disastrous for Ewan Baker. Remember, championship leader by just 2 points coming into this round. He needed consistent results across all 3 races today, but he's not going to get that. It's on for the lead as well. Dylan Jordan under pressure from Mitchell Sparrow, Alex Sprague and Josh Silcock right there waiting in the wings, and then Hugo Allen and Cooper Prout latching onto the back of the pack. The top 6 well and truly together, and I would say Hugo Allen is going to be the fastest of them all, but Alex Sprague has the fastest lap right now, a 1:42.18. Keep that in mind. Still not as quick as Hugo Allen could manage in race 1, but we'll wait and see who's the paciest here at the end. We've still got quite a few laps remaining.
And as the field's starting to just sort of elongate just a little bit, Allen and Proud are starting to go together to try and range back up on Silcock. So somebody's made a mistake there and not been able to stay on Silcock. Silcock is going to look to try and be a little bit more aggressive towards this leading pack, and Sprague just cannot find a way by. Sparrow's just propping him up in all the right spots, just making it awkward enough, just making it difficult enough and not offering an invitation. This is the opportunity. He's going to send it up the inside. Sparrow's going to make contact with Dylan Jordan at the hip, and then 3-1. Around goes Jordan. No, saves it. Great driving.
Yeah, good save there from Dylan Jordan. Unfortunately, it's cost him a top 6 position now as Paul Booth moves his way past. I think Jordan's going to fall down to 7th as a result. Now it's between Mitchell Sparrow and Alex Sprague at the front, but Sprague went wide through the first part of the chicane. Hugo Allen unable to take advantage, and he's been slowed up. Now Josh Silcock and Cooper Proud are running side by side at the back of the pack for the top 5. Booth, Harding and Jordan will surely be catching up to these guys with how much they're going side by side.
Yeah, and no one's really been able to make any gains on lap time on that lap. They were all down to the 44s and the 43s, high 43s, low 44s. That's about 2 and a bit seconds off what these guys are actually capable of. That's how much battling's going on at the moment. It's actually enabled that second group of cars to start tracking back towards them at the moment. They were faster on that most recent lap. Jordan, slow, slides down all the way to 8th spot after the incidents and the issues. James McIver, remember, fell through the field, and Ewan's going to try and recover from deeper down there. He just needs to try and put whatever points he possibly can on the board. They are important.
Through the chicane then once more. Hugo Allen very wide on the exit, but a great run out of the chicane from Alex Sprague. Surely not attempting up the inside of Villeneuve. How hard is Mitchell Sparrow going to fight this? He carries it nice and deep into the corner. The curb's nice and wide. He will keep the lead. Hugo Allen is right there to take advantage. He had the track all to himself there as our leaders ran side by side. Now the top 3 are together. Cooper Prout and Josh Silcock still squabbling over 4th on the road at the moment. And Alex Sprague forced defensive against Hugo Allen. All good news for Mitchell Sparrow.
Yeah, but remember, Mitchell Sparrow had contact with Jordan, so whether or not he'll hang on to this one is a matter that is currently with a big question mark and a bit of debate around it. So that one could fall the way of Sprague, and he might be just thinking about that as well. I need to keep Alan behind me. Well, in terms of points, Alan's not going to be taking points away from these guys, but it's points on the track, and when you're that locked in, when you're that focused on everything that's going around, it's very, very easy to lose a little bit of focus on that one. Does he know that Hugo Allen's not scoring points? What about Krupa Proud? He needs to put points on the board when Ewan Baker has a rough round. Now it's going to be wide at turn 1 as well for Mitchell Sparrow.
Yeah, loses a bit of momentum there. Those gravel traps really suck you in. That's why you need to be careful coming out of turn 1 here. An old school circuit, Zolder, through and through. There's no tarmac runoffs to speak of around here. It's all gravel and grass lining the circuit, and barely anything beyond that curb. All of those little puffs of gravel being sent up as down to the chicane again. I thought for a moment Alex Sprague was going to have a go at Mitchell Sparrow, but once again, it's not a clear passing opportunity. How about the exit though?
Yeah, lots of curb usage, and now
Slow
we use the
down
right range
Sparrow.
on him, and Sparrow's going to clear that one straight away. Is there damage? There might be damage on the right rear corner of that car. No, he's cleared a slowdown penalty and cleared it immediately. That changes things now because Sprague's now got the lead of the race. Hugo Allen is going to absolutely throw the kitchen sink at him. Of that, you can be very, very sure. And at the end of this one, there'll be 5 laps to go. But the big thing, Reese, is they've fought so much. There's so many cars that are being dragged back into this one. Dylan Jordan in 7th spot is now back in this lead pack.
Yeah, can he get it done though? Can he get back up to a podium position? The battling has been close, but it seems like every time a driver attempts something, they end up losing time to the cars ahead. So it's proven quite difficult for drivers to make up bulk positions. I think it's just the nature of the circuit coming into play there. If there were longer straights and a bit more of an opportunity to slipstream, maybe we'd be seeing a few more big moves, but we're going to be seeing one starting now from Dylan Jordan there.
Safety car's just been called.
Again?
Yeah,
Christopher
so
Tipper.
Yeah.
Tipper, unfortunately, had a great run up through the field going. He made his way up from 23rd to 12th, but that run has come to an end, and it looks like on the entry to the Villeneuve chicane, he is stopped. Unclear exactly what caused that for him, but it looks to me like it might have been a bit too heavy contact with the curb at the chicane. Very similar to what happened to Scotty McQueen.
Yeah, we'll have to try and grab a replay of that when we can, because we'll have enough time to do that as well. Fair idea, this will be a fairly quick safety car as well. He cut the chicane massively.
Yeah, it was a very big cut. Oop.
I think it might have broken the right rear tyre, or he's lost screens or something.
Yeah, well, the car does look like it's leaning on the right rear a bit on live pictures. So there's the point of contact. Yeah, it took out the rear suspension.
That's new. I've never seen that in sim racing. That's with the amount of curb. Yeah, look, I mean, it's possible, but I've never actually seen that happen on the sim before. And it's definitely ripped the right rear off.
Yeah, well,
I've watched it about 5 times from what I've got available to me, and there's no other contact, and there's no leaning on that. The only other thing I can think of is if he's had other pieces of contact in that right rear, it's weakened it a little bit, and then it's just one final chunk into the curb has taken it out.
Yeah, I think that's most likely. iRacing's damage model in full effect there. The current damage model introduced a few years ago, and it's incremental damage across multiple components of the car, and every component is treated separately for damage. It's turned out to be quite a good system, and well, a similar incident would have happened in real life had everything been the same. Reminder that if any driver sticks out to you tonight, you can vote for them on the NZ Sim Racing TV socials. Get your vote in. You will enter the draw to win a set of sim racing gloves from Speednation, and the driver who wins the vote will also get the same prize. That will voting will open after the conclusion of tonight's show, so make sure to get in on it. Apex Lab as well. Use promo code NZSRC. Get 10% off your first membership for Apex Lab driver coaching. Many great partners and supporters associated with this series. Creme Insurance as well, major supporter of motorsports and sim racing in New Zealand. CremeInsurance.co.nz. CareVets Group, coming together and operating from 2008 and supporting up-and-coming talent in motorsport and motorsport in New Zealand. Mannon Racing Products, Speednation, MOZA Racing, and of course the NZ Sim Racing Collective, which is the reason we are able to put this series on in the first place.
Yeah, and I want to say big shout out to all the sponsors. I think that's a big thing, is every single year we've got something happening with the NZ Sim Racing TV Collective as well, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, how cool is it to have Creme Insurance step in and want to be a major sponsor last year, and that takes another step up and a direct connection to the 86's IRL. You know, motorsports in New Zealand is taking that partnership with the sim racing and taking it to another level. I cannot say enough to, as an Australian who gets to sit back and watch and admire that, you guys have got the right approach to using this as a driver training, driver improvement tool. And I think if you talk to Hugo Allen at any point, he'll mention that, you know, this is about keeping his reflexes and things ready to go, keeping himself, you know, clean and race fit, really. There's no better way to do it. There's nothing that can replace seat time. And seat time's expensive. You know what's a lot less expensive is sim time. So, you know, it's really, really important to driver development programs.
Yeah, it certainly is. And with the grassroots nature of Toyota 86 racing across the world, the fact that we had this car available in iRacing to put on series like this is major. It's awesome to see all of this talent showcased. Safety car is ending. It will be 3 laps to go at the front of the field here, and Alex Sprague doing something similar to what Corey Croson did at the end of the first safety car period. He's going to leave it all the way to the grid boxes to get rolling. It looks like Hugo Allen and Cooper Proud were right on him there. They have stayed in touch on the way into turn 1. 3 laps to go at Zolder, and we're going to see Ewan Baker try and make up bulk positions into turn 1. He's already made his way up to 14th as Dunn and McIver were battling behind him. So let's see what kind of recovery Baker can make here. Hasn't got much time to do it.
Yeah, there's damage on the rear end of Tim Sullivan's car. There's elbows and paints being traded for for Darren Lom and James McIver, who are getting the elbows out. McIver's looking to go 3 wide into turn 4. Gee whiz, that's not going to work out for anyone involved. You've got to remember that Ewan Baker's got massive damage on the front end of his 86, so it's not quick in a straight line, and he is just getting swamped and eaten up. He had to grab as many positions as he could through the corners, but McIver trying to shadow him into the chicane forces a defensive line for the race leader. Sprague still from Hugo Allen. 2.5 laps left in this one, and the reverse grid race has set Zolder alight.
Certainly has. Bryce Harding making the defense work versus Paul Booth. Side by side for James Corbin. Got Mitchell Sparrow and Arthur Brown around him. Brown trying around the outside there, and there was contact in the middle of the corner. Corey Croson sees potential to still finish in the top 10 despite his earlier black flag. He's going to try and go for it at the hairpin. No, he thinks better of it. Allows Corbin to somewhat shuffle Arthur Brown out of the way, and that might be exactly the move Croson was looking for.
Yeah, lots of aggression, lots of paint being traded. Brown has just been about boxed in and beaten about in just about every lap of race number 1. Now there's a little bit of touch between Croson and Corbin, a little bit ahead of them. There was so much paint traded. Brown and Corbin both picked themselves slow down penalties. A little bit of a rethink of the strategy for James Corbin. They've got to serve these penalties. Think about the guys that have already picked up a penalty for not serving their slowdown. So that means Croson gets through. And he was one of those guys at the very start of this one. That safety car's brought him back into it. He was leading the way before failing to serve that slowdown penalty. So we've had black flags in both races.
Oh, yeah, we have. And look at that. That's Baker that's just made his way past Ross Buchan and James Corbin with that kerfuffle coming out of turn 1. That was all started by Corbin getting a bit of contact on the exit and dipping the right side of his car into the gravel trap. We're going to be seeing that a lot in race 3 too, I'm sure. Plenty of drama, especially for Hayden Kirk, who was the car we saw spinning into the final chicane just a few moments ago. Creme Insurance instant replay. We're going to find out exactly what happened to him.
Yeah, so keep our eyes out for the run through, and Ewan Baker's just in behind this as well. Oh, did he break it much early? Yeah, it was Avon done, but did Avon have Ewan Baker into his back pocket as well? There was a lot of track position there, and guys just squabbling for the same bit of real estate.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Hayden Kirk comes off the worst out of them all and is now down in 22nd place with no one to race with. battle on then for just outside the top 10 here. Corey Crossan sitting 9th in the grey car ahead of Arthur Brown. Ewan Baker could potentially still see a top 10 finish out of this, despite the issues that he's faced. Henry Fires, one of the more embattled drivers today, currently fighting for that 16th place alongside Tim Sullivan. James McIver trying to put the move on Darren Lobb up ahead, and they're 2 by 2 on the way through the final chicane. Henry Fires having to give up the position to Tim Sullivan.
Yeah, there's paint trading from Darren Lobb and James McIver just ahead of them as well. So again, everyone is just boxing on. Graham Wall's got damage on the rear end of his car, and he's trying to dive down into turn number 1. Justin Davies back to 21st spot. The restarts have not been good, unfortunately, for him. So many drivers wide at turn 1. This is the battle for the race lead on the final lap of race number 2 and the longest one of the night. There's only a short race left to come after this one for Sprague. He'd love to put a bank of points on the table. He'd love to take a win, but look at the queue up behind. Hugo Allen is not going to let him have this one easily.
Yeah, once again, Hugo Allen is not going to be eligible for points as a wildcard entry, but if he gets in the way of Alex Sprague, if he sets him on the back foot, that could be enough. Oh, I was about to say Cooper Prout could take advantage, but he got to slow down through the chicane. He's fallen outside of the top 3, now sitting P5. It is between Alex Sprague and Hugo Allen for the win on the road. Sprague qualified 2nd for race 1. He ended up shuffled outside the podium spots. Started from 7th. He might still be able to take it here. Hugo Allen having a look, but not going for the move on Alex Sprague there. Could see one final opportunity at the last chicane. Silcock, Harding and Prout will still be battling over 3rd place, effective 2nd at this point, as Hugo Allen lets Alex Sprague take point into the final chicane, and the number 50 will come across the line to win race 2. Sprague with a massive points haul from that.
Yeah, that was important. That was really, really important. And after a troublesome first round of the championship for Sprague as well, he's managed to come out with a win in the big feature race in race number 2. He was 18th in the points. 57 was his round total, which was less than a third of Ewan Baker's at the end of round number 1. He needed a points haul. He got it from that one. Deeper in the field, they were all fighting, and Ewan Baker's come a cropper at the last corner. How's that for sportsmanship, though? How is that? Come to a full stop, wait for him, and roll back through. Let him have the spot. That is what we're here for.
Indeed. Hayden Kirk there with Ewan Baker. They are teammates at Kiwi Sim Racing. We'll have a look, once again, thanks to Creme Insurance, at exactly what happened. Looks like there might have been... Oh, okay. Unfortunately, the session change caught us out there, so we weren't able to get the replay, but evidently Ewan Baker with dramas in the final chicane at the very end of this last race. So with all of that, we are going to take a short break here and find our way to the race 2 results first, though. Coming across the line in P1, Alex Sprague, with Hugo Allen finishing in 2nd spot. Josh Silcock and Bryce Harding, your top 4, and Harding gaining the most positions of all from 20th to 4th. That's a fantastic job there.
Phenomenal. That's such a big, big drive. That cannot be understated in a race that was filled with chaos. So if Bryce Harding manages to put it all together, he'll go ahead and take that one. Cooper Prout back to 5th spot. That slowdown penalty penalised him massively in that one, but there will still be a points haul on the table. Dylan Jordan, Paul Booth, Mitchell Sparrow, Arthur Brown, and James Corbin, the 10.
Yep, and in 11th place, it was Ross Buchan gaining 3 spots. Darren Lobb finishing in 12th from 19th. Corey Crossan starting this race on pole, had to settle for 13th after a slowdown penalty early on in the running that he didn't clear in time. James McIver also being shuffled back. Well, could have been a top 5, but 14th for him. Tim Sullivan, 15th place in the end, and lots of positions gained from 24th. Avon Dunn, Justin Davies, Henry Fires, Graham Wall, and Billy Rowley rounding out your top 20, with Ewan Baker, Hayden Kirk, Nico Cordier, and Christopher Tipper rounding out your field. Solid job from everyone who finished to get to the end there. It was a tough one. We're going to step away for a few moments here before we have our interview with our podium finishing drivers. We'll be right back here on NZ Sim Racing TV.
something in your mind, you are able to create it, build it, and then someone from the other side of the world came and tell you that they want to spread this product to 50 countries in the world, so it's a huge personal.
You're watching NZ Sim Racing TV, round 2 of the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup here at Zolder. What an incredible night of racing we've had so far. Still one race left to run. While we have a moment, Scott Rankin stood by with Josh Silcock, who finished on the podium in race 2.
Silcock, Josh, mate, it's looking like you've had a reasonable pace thus far throughout the evening, but I think the big thing is every time I've looked at you, you've just been making good, clean decisions and just looking to put points on the board.
Yeah, just trying to stay out of trouble. Last week, kind of got caught up in my own incidents and, a few others, involving other drivers. But yeah, this week deciding to, on a track that's very hard to pass and, as soon as you try and pass, you go backwards. So just trying to, keep the nose clean, let others make mistakes and pick up on those.
Mate, the racing around here, we're just taking a quick look at the weather forecast heading into this final one. It looks like we might get some quite intense rain. Was there a lot of practice put into that one? And what's the tricky level of the track, given that there's no traction control support in the 86 setup we've got here?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of practice in the rain. Yeah, very fun car to drive and looking forward to it. I'm all for it with a bit of rallying behind me. So hopefully, it does me good.
Mate, obviously not a lot of points out of round 1, big points in race number 2. Where do you think, are you capable of another podium potentially here in race number 3 of the night?
I think if it rains, maybe we can go forward a little bit. But yeah, I'd be happy to stay where I am, to be fair, with Hugo in front of us, not in the championship. So taking that into account with the racing as well and just, putting myself in a good spot on each race. And I'm all for the rain. Let's see it.
Right, mate. Well, final opportunity. Anyone you want to give a thank you or a shout out to, given that there is a fan vote out there, you would kind of want to get all those guys on your side, right?
Yeah, just all my family and Donna Elder sitting there supporting Ray and Mum in the lounge and whoever else is watching me from around the place. So yeah.
Oh, mate, that was a great opportunity. Say a shout out to everyone that's watching along at home. Yeah, if they vote for me this week, I reckon you're gonna vote for Josh Silcock. Let's win him a fan vote. Everyone watching along at home, give a wave to him.
Yeah, cheers guys, thank you.
Gotta have some fun with the interviews, don't you, boys, along at home. Silcock is looking clean, clear, and under control, I think, Reese, and he looks set for a wet race in race number 3.
Absolutely, and yeah, the rain is coming, and it's coming hard. We're seeing a veritable wall of rain approaching the circuit on the weather radar. Just by the end of warm-up, it should find its way to the circuit. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the drivers are going to deal with this, because it should surely be sopping wet by the time we get the green flag for race 3. I think everyone's going to be starting on wet tires.
Yeah, I think that's just where they're planning. At the moment, we've only got about a minute sort of before we jump into that next session, and the track looks dry and the calm before the storm at the moment. But I don't know if that last shot before we jump to the overhead shot, you could see the dark clouds that were certainly building up, and it's definitely gotten a lot darker out there on the racetrack as well. It's 4 p.m. in Sim at the moment, but it feels a lot later at night.
Certainly does. It's very dark out there at the moment, and it's likely going to get even darker as the session switches over here, waiting for the rain to present itself. And there it is. Oh, the track is absolutely soaking. And starting on pole position for race number 3 will be Alex Sprague with Hugo Allen alongside him. Josh Silcox starting in 3rd place alongside Bryce Harding. Cooper Prout starting 5th alongside Dylan Jordan. Paul Booth will start in 7th spot with Mitchell Sparrow alongside him on row number 4. And then it's Arthur Brown and James Corbin rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, outside the 10, we get back to Ross Buchanan. Darren Lobb, he's come from the rear of the field to get himself into 12th spot. Corey Crowson from the pit lane and James McIver. These guys were both not afraid to trade a little bit of paint. We'll see if that calms down with the wet weather. Tim Sullivan's not had a great night. Neither has Avon Dunn, another guy that's been the walking wounded, unfortunately, for Avon. Justin Davis and, again, Henry Fires has been in a war with the wing mirrors at this point in time. Top 20 rounded out by Graham Wall and Billy Rowley.
It's going to be 21st place for Ewan Baker, who started on pole for race 1. He's got a lot of work to do here, starting alongside Hayden Kirk. Nico Cordier and Christopher Tipper on row number 12, with Scotty McQueen starting in the 26th grid slot. The safety car obviously won't be taking that, but these are the drivers who did not have a very good run in race number 2. The lights are on, the wipers are up, and we're getting ready for a standing start in the wet. The first time we're going to see it in this series.
We're standing start in the wet with no traction control. What can go wrong? Absolutely nothing. And look at how shiny it is. That sheen that you can see on the left-hand side of our shot where the darker zone is, that runs sort of all the way back up to Hugo Allen's wheel tracks there, just on the middle, just slightly to the middle of the track from where his car's situated. That is the slick line. So anyone starting on the outside of turn 1, which is the left-hand side row of that shot as we look back, they're in the slick, but here comes the lights.
Indeed. Final race of the day here for the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. The finals, round 2 at Zolder, and we are away. Wheel spinner plenty for quite a few drivers there. Looks like Hugo Allen already falling down the order. He didn't quite nail that start. Josh Silcock and Alex Sprague did. They're going to be leading the way into turn 1 as trying around the outside of Hugo Allen is Bryce Harding. Now this is where wet weather driving comes to the fore. You want to stay off the curbs, stay off any painted surface, and take wide lines through the corners, because in the wet, that's where the grip is.
Yeah, and there's been a few drivers that have put tyres on the slick line. Arthur Brown got around massively at turn 3, but I think Darren Lobb's been involved in that. He's tracking not in a straight line at this point in time. So just surviving this race might be a large part of that. There's puddles left and right as they come out of turn 4, and look at the spray starting to kick up as well. Everyone's trying to find a hole just to try and punch their way through. I don't think he can go double file through the chicane down here. And everyone minding their P's and Q's. How much risk are you going to take over the chicane? Oh, massive issue. I think we might have had somebody either not fail to pluck a gear. Silcock's right rear might be off the car. It's the same issue we saw earlier.
Yeah, he went too deep into the chicane and went all the way across that second apex curb. Exactly the same thing happened. The right rear suspension failed, and now they're sliding all the way around here. Cooper Prout is side by side here with Bryce Harding. Are you saying there's more drivers that have done the same thing?
I don't think they've done the same thing, but I've seen 3 meatball flags is the big thing. I thought it might have been associated with that. One of them was Darren Lobb, and his was for turn 2, and Hayden Kirk's another, but I don't know where Kirk's has actually come from. Ewan Baker got blocked up. I was looking sort of at where he started. Have a look at the back end of the top 10 as they all crawl their way out of the hairpin on lap 1.
Yeah, well, lap 1 coming to a merciful close here as everyone tries their best to find out where the grip is here. Cooper Prout still running in P3, but we're actually looking back at the back end of the top 10 here at the moment. KSR car of, I believe, Dylan Jordan, who's chasing down Bryce Harding. And Looks like Darren Lobbs made up a couple other positions and immediately loses them as he actually comes into the pits, I presume for damage. Let's see then what the battle is like here as we find our way to our first replay of the race. I can't wait to see what this one's about.
This might be the turn 2 moment. Oh, actually, a car's just got around Corey Croson. I think it's just been rotated down at turn 1. It was on one of those other cars. So the replay is, look at them crawling all over the curbs. And the 07 machine trying to get down the inside in turn 2. There goes the 222. I think that's Brown, and that's where he gets spun. And at this point in time, we're going to get a safety car called. So it's Brown got spun across the front of the field, and they all just piled into him with nowhere to go.
Yeah, just after we cut to the replay, James McIver had exactly the same thing happen to him as we just saw on the replay. James Corbin making a little bit of rear-end contact with him through turn 2. And unfortunately, as a result, we've seen the safety car come out here. Josh Silcock is all the way down in 23rd place and is unable to get rolling. It looks like his suspension has been done and dusted too.
Yeah, well, that was the car that bottomed out through the chicane. So yeah, he's done for the day. Unfortunately, after coming and having a chat to us about how he's just trying to survive through race number 2 and just put points on the board, he did do that, but he's not going to do it in race number 3, unfortunately. So he'll get back to the pit lane, hopefully get a fresh car. Unfortunately, I think Hayden Kirk also had damage of some description. Yeah, there was massive damage on the right rear corner of his car. There's so many cars in that midfield that have got marks on the front or the rear end of them because of the checkups. Everyone's trying to figure out where the grip is. We've just had 2 races where we've had a ton of grip, cold conditions, and all of a sudden the grip's gone away from them.
All right. Replay once more here of the crash that we weren't quite able to catch fully. We are going to roll on that one and see what happened here through turn 1. Car number 67 of James McIver. And he ends up getting that slight tap there from James Corbin in the side. And the only place he could go was the gravel trap out of turn 2. McIver is now down in 17th place, which is a shame considering how far up he managed to run. There's a lot of drivers that have made good gains, though, and 2 of them are drivers that have been some of the most embattled tonight. Billy Rowley and Christopher Tipper up 8 and 9 positions respectively in 12th and 15th. They're having a good run of things at the moment.
Yeah, but now we've got another safety car restart, so we'll see how long that lasts. And the big thing is, Reese, that rain intensity is actually building. It's getting worse. So we're into the thick of the dark green stuff. At the start of the race, it was just light rain, but it was starting to build and build and build. It is hammering it down the longer that this goes on. Is that rain or is that dust? It was just, I think that might have actually been mist moving through the front end of that shot. That's just how bad it is out there at this point in time. There's so much water. And the thing about this racetrack as well is think about the curbing and the divot through the first chicane at, you know, turn 5, turn 6, and then you go up and over a hill. There's actually a river that runs directly across the track, and another one through the second chicane, and there's another little rise and fall. So there's rivers that just run across this track everywhere.
Yeah, so many. And as the rain intensifies, you're going to see those puddles continue to gather, particularly around curbs. That's another reason why you're going to see drivers running so wide through the corners here in these conditions. They just want to avoid the potential for aquaplaning, and I think we're going to be seeing a few drivers suffer from that as time goes on.
Yeah, and narrow. Again, that's the big thing about this place, narrow. First sector, quite wide, a lot of room for you to go left, right, and centre. And after that, it's not really much more that we can kind of do. So anyway, for now, we're going to try and settle ourselves back in for a safety car restart. Sprague has got that car put back on a P1. Hugo Allen did not get a good getaway. They're going to hold him again at 85 kilometers an hour as they come out of the last corner. When's he going to go? Now he elects to go, and what's the risk level like for a bunch of these guys? Think about Ewan Baker that's back deeper in that field. He needs to try and earn some points back. He's going to go 3 wide before they even get to the first corner and try and pick off a few spots.
Yes, indeed. Here we go then. The spray kicks up once more as we make their way through turn number 2, and it looks like Alex Sprague is pushing very hard in these conditions. A little bit too much oversteer. Hugo Allen a bit more calm and controlled on the restart. He's going to range right up to the back of Alex Sprague as they make their way to turn 4. But once again, take good care to keep control of the car across this slick, slippery surface. Now, the chicane is one of the places where we usually saw some moves being attempted in the dry, but certainly not in the wet. You'd be a fool to try and go side by side through there in these conditions.
Yeah, think about it. Think about your race at large. Think about keeping the car on the island. Baker's picked up 2 spots since the restart because I was just keeping an eye on him a little bit further back. Have a look at them as they go side by side on the run down to the next chicane. Bryce Harding elects to back out of that one from Paul Booth. Booth is actually having a really good race number 3 in the wet conditions. I say that, and then he just starts to light the rear. So he hung on to that, you know? He actually hung on to that. That was skillful driving. One of the drivers who didn't hang on to it, James McIver.
Something can say drifto, I think is what you're supposed to say to that. Fantastic car control from many of the drivers here today. Cooper Proud making the move on Hugo Allen, meanwhile, has gotten up into 2nd place, and Mitchell Sparrow will try to take advantage as the teammates from Auto Moves try and fight their way over 2nd on the road. This is giving all the advantage in the world to Alex Sprague. He just needs to keep it calm and controlled, and he might be able to get away with this, especially if Allen and Proud keep fighting like they are.
Well, have a look at Sparrow all of a sudden ranging up. He's got speed in the wet, you know. He's starting to range up on the rear end of Hugo Allen. He actually lent on him coming out of the last corner because he got better traction, and Allen didn't quite get there, and he had to lift because he nearly carried a little bit too much speed. But look at how wet it is. It's diabolical out there, and it is getting worse lap by lap. We're not going to get much quicker. 58.456. We are 17 seconds off the pace compared to that fastest lap of Hugo Allen for race number 1. That's how much slower, how much speed we've lost. They are building a little bit of tyre temperature at the moment, but in the meantime, Prout needs an opportunity to try and go after those leaders. And there's a few cars that have been able to make ground. Ewan Baker's forced his way back into the top 10. Dylan Jordan's having a reasonable race number 3 as well.
Yeah, Dylan Jordan keeping himself in the top 10, down 2 spots from where he started, but still a nice consistent 8th. He's chasing this front pack with Paul Booth and Bryce Harding. Ewan Baker makes the move on Dylan Jordan, in fact, coming up to the chicane. He's now up into 8th, 13 spots gained for Baker after race 2 was an unmitigated disaster for the guy who was leading the championship coming into this round. James Corbin rounds out the top 10, but he's going to try and go for 9th. He's searching for any advantage he can here over Dylan Jordan, who seems to be on the back foot this lap.
Yeah, it does a little bit. He's just starting to slide at the moment. Remember, Ewan Baker and Dylan Jordan are actually teammates. So there was an opportunity, I think, to hand that spot over to Ewan Baker. And they'll try and settle back down in on the run out of the hairpin because Baker's going to have a crack at Corey Croson. There's a battle on for the race lead as well.
Yeah, Cooper Prout very wide through the hairpin, but got some great momentum. Unfortunately, Alex Sprague was in front of him at the time. Bit of a bump resulted, and Cooper Prout on the back foot once again as they make their way into the final chicane. You see them crawling at the apexes here, and Ewan Baker now on Corey Croson makes his way up into P7. It's a fantastic job from Baker to make up these positions. I think he was banking on this rain. He's made some huge gains, but through tight corners like those chicanes, sure, the philosophy in the wet is to stay off the racing line because the rubber gets all slick when it's wet, but in these chicanes, you don't really have much of a choice, do you? They're absolutely crawling at the apex.
Yeah, and the other problem is the puddles that are also forming as well. So there's nearly two lanes that you're sort of trying to dodge at the same time, and there's not really an optimal line. There's just a line that compromises you for turn 1 of the chicanes, and a line that'll compromise you for turn 2. Corey Croson in the rear view mirror of Ewan Baker had it all cranked out and sideways on the way down through turn number 4. At this point in time, lap number 6, 4 laps to go, including this one. At the end of this, there'll only be 3 more. And look at the battle pack crawling their way through the chicane just ahead of these guys. Bryce Harding just made a little bit of a mistake on the way to the chicane, and Paul Booth picked up a slowdown penalty as well. A ton of them, actually. There was about 4 drivers that just picked up a slowdown penalty on the run through the chicane then.
It's side by side for the lead again. Cooper Prout trying on Alex Sprague, and Sprague has been sent wide there in the foreground. He's going to be defensive now on Hugo Allen, but round the outside, traction belongs to Hugo Allen, Who gets the best run in these conditions through these fast corners? It is going to be Allen, and Mitchell Sparrow will duly try and move past Alex Sprague as well, from the lead to 4th place in just a couple of corners, but it could be 3rd again for Alex Sprague as Sparrow was wide at the hairpin. Paul Booth sees a big opportunity there.
Yeah, he made a little bit of a mistake, and he's actually pushed Alex Sprague a little bit further back into that battle pack because there was just enough room for Sparrow to feed back in. It gave a little bit more speed onto Alex Sprague. Will try and go with these guys, but the rear end of that Sprague car is dancing left, right, center. It's all over the place at this point in time. Forget being able to drive a Toyota GR86. You know, some skills might be better off found from the dirt. Well, this might be sprint car territory.
Certainly, there's a few drivers in this field who are quite active on surfaces that are not tarmac in the real world, and I'm sure that they are using that skill set to its full extent here today. Sprague has to yield in the end to Mitchell Sparrow, but now there's potential for them to mount an attack. Cooper Prout and Hugo Allen, 1-2 for auto moves at the front of the field, and Prout, the fastest car on circuit at the moment, 156.9 his previous lap, and he's looking like he's not under much pressure. I think Hugo Allen's going to try and keep everyone else behind to allow Prout to take those maximum points.
Yeah, and just sort of defend and cover for his teammate, work with, you know, playing second fiddle for Hugo Allen at this point in time is probably the best thing he can probably do. It's a buffer zone. I'm really, really impressed with this drive, though. Mitchell Sparrow is doing a phenomenal job. He didn't have a whole bunch of speed in those first couple of races, and when you actually have a look at where he qualified, he was, you know, a good 3 or 4 tenths off the pace, but he's really made gains in these wet conditions. So this will be one to keep an eye on when we get some rain further into the season, but unfortunately it looks like it might be time to rip the replay graphics out yet again, and James McIver might be the driver on the backside.
Yeah, once again, McIver is a really pacey guy. He has potential to finish well in these events, but it's just not gone well from races 2 and 3. Got up on the curb there trying to pass a car and got spat into the gravel trap for his troubles. Yeah, if I was in his position, I would have backed out of that, but I understand the need to try and make up every position you can. Yeah.
And it was aggression. You finally got a run. You really want to try and take that run somewhere if you possibly can. And unfortunately, just not able to maximize and do anything with that one. The big thing now will be, where has Ewan Baker gotten back to? Have we lost him at this point in time? We have. No, he's made a spot. I was looking for him a little bit further down the timing tower. He's back up to 6th spot at this point in time. Took half a second out of Paul Booth on that previous lap. There's 2 more laps left to go from the Zolder track, and wet and wild, but the big thing is if you can carry speed, and at the moment I think Mitchell Sparrow is just lining himself up to think about having a crack at those front 2. If he can just build some speed, why not? You're here, have a stab, see where you end up.
Yeah, it's a difficult balance to strike, though. You know, your instinct as a racing driver is to push hard at every opportunity, but wet conditions don't allow you to do that. Wet conditions reward driving slightly under the limit and taking liberties sometimes when you need to. Hugo Allen didn't have a good run out of the chicane that time. This could be the chance that Sparrow's looking for.
Yeah, he'll try and build some speed up and across the crest of the hill, and there's just nothing eventuating. There's a lick of damage in the left rear corner of Hugo Allen's car. Cooper Prout just picked himself up a slowdown penalty through that chicane, so that is going to change things here as we head towards the final lap of the race.
Sparrow did too. Looks like Sparrow has a furl black flag next to his name on the entries tab as well, but he's not actually slowing down here in behind Hugo Allen. He's going to go for the move. Oh, that's way too deep. Slithers off the circuit. The wheels lock up, and there's only one place Sparrow can go, and that's into the kitty litter. He's going to fall outside the top 3 as a result. Paul Booth duly says, thank you very much, 4th place for me. Really impressed with Paul Booth's run up through the field today. Remember, he started 16th in race 1 as Hugo Allen's wide there at the penultimate corner. This could be the chance Alex Sprague's looking for to get back into the runner-up spot. But just quickly, as the final lap begins, Paul Booth started 16th for race 1. He made his way up to 9th, finished 7th in race 2, and now he's looking at a top 4 in race 3.
Yeah, and remember, you take out Hugo Allen out of the points, that's a podium for him. He should be really over the moon with that performance. It's not been smooth, it's not been kind to him. He's had to fight, he's had to scrap, he's had to work his way through, and Alex Sprague is going to be trying to have a crack at Hugo Allen, even though this won't be a spot in terms of the point standings. This is still important. Alex Sprague wants to earn it on the racetrack from Hugo Allen. And again, it's the left rear tail light for the 888 machine of Hugo Allen that's out. It's not currently lit up, so there was a whack to the left rear corner as they crawl their way to the chicane on the final lap of the race.
The lead now sits at 1.7 seconds for Cooper Prout. Looks like he might be safe here. Hugo Allen and Alex Sprague will fight over the last 2 spots on the road podium amongst themselves. Mitchell Sparrow will see an opportunity to fight for 3rd on points with Paul Booth as he's making the move right now there. There's the move being made in the background. Sparrow is through on Booth. A nice impressive move at Villeneuve to get it done there. Hugo Allen, it seems, doesn't feel much pressure from Alex Sprague, but there's still a few corners left to go. Still plenty of opportunity for mistakes. Christopher Tipper's been making up spots in this one too, up 8 positions, just made his way past James McIver, but into the final corners of the night now. Hugo Allen will see Cooper Prout slowly crawl away from him here, coming out of the hairpin. And this young man here in the number 10 has been on the pace from the get-go. He and Ewan Baker in the semi-finals were fighting neck and neck, but they never raced against each other. The finals allow them to do that now, and it looks like Cooper Prout is going to come off the best of them here at Zolder to the win in race 3 for Cooper Prout.
Yeah, gets the job done. He'll be over the moon with that one. Sprague threw a lot of pressure down both of them. The points lead will be really, really interesting to talk about heading out of round number 2. When the heavens finally opened at Zolder, they gave us something with a little bit of drama in it, but there was a lot more than that. Billy Rowley crawls in for a 15th spot in the very end of this one. The field, when that rain started up, was a lot more heavy, and there was a lot more to it, and that field spread, the skill differential in the rain, it is just a great equalizer in terms of the skill levels. And how about this? I just took a look at the track temperature. 14.5 degrees. It is freezing out there.
Yeah, make sure to put your warm and woolly socks on for that. Well, that's going to be the end of proceedings for the racing portion of the evening. Cooper Prout, 0.8 of a second ahead of Hugo Allen in the end. Alex Sprague, 3rd on the road. That's going to be 2nd for him, with Mitchell Sparrow completing the podium among the points-paying drivers. Paul Booth gets a top 5 on the road with Ewan Baker in 6th. Bryce Harding, Corey Crossan, Dylan Jordan and Avon Dunn rounding out their top 10. Great run for Baker, up 15 places in the end.
Yeah, managed to find a whole bunch of spots. Ross Buchanan from James Corbin, Graham Wall, Justin Davies. There was a few guys trying to check on, and him gets back to 14th spot from Billy Rowley, Christopher Tipper, Nico Cordier, Tim Sullivan, James McIver, retirement on the last lap of the race as well from Henry Fires. There was another broken axle through that chicane.
Yeah, it's been a common problem for the drivers today. Josh Silcock had great potential. He was one of the drivers that had one of those broken axles, ultimately 5 laps off and classified 21st in the end. Hayden Kirk, Darren Lobb, Arthur Brown and Scotty McQueen rounding out the field. McQueen left the server after his incident in race 2 and did not take part in the final race. So these are the provisional championship standings now coming out of race 3. Cooper Prout with a major advantage over Ewan Baker. Baker needed to get good points today to keep that title fight alive with Prout, but he goes from 2 points up to almost 160 down.
Yeah, so a lot of points on the board for Cooper Prout in that one. And I think that race
60.
for Ewan Baker is massive in terms of what he was able to do. But at the same time, you got to recover from that. You got to put points back on the board as well. Sprague's at least put some points in his corner as well after a troublesome race number 1, round number 1. I think if you're going to talk about round winner, I think Sprague actually put enough points on the board that he's dragged himself. Remember, he was a long, long way behind these guys after round 1. He has closed that gap on both of the drivers that are actually ahead of him.
Yeah, Cooper Prout had a win, a 3rd place and a 5th place. Sprague, by contrast, had a 1st, a 3rd and a 4th. So that should be enough points to take the round win for this one. Just incredible runs from everybody here today. But it looks like Alex Sprague and Bryce Harding are going to be fighting hard over the points. A 60-point gap now for Cooper Prout at the front of the standings. Round 3 is going going to be immense, but we can't talk about that just yet. We need to have a chat to our winners and podium getters. Cooper Prout joins us now. First place in race number 3, Cooper. This was a crucial round for you. You were 2 points back on Ewan Baker coming out of round 1. You needed to get those consistent results. That's exactly what you did, but it was harder than it looked.
Yeah, those conditions in that last race were especially tough. It was just big thanks to all the boys that helped throughout the racing. Auto Moves, Apex Labs, Sim Black, Sim Rap Magic, Sim Magic, Patskeet Desires, Motor Tribe, and Match 1 Racewear. Without those boys, I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, indeed. An incredible run in the finals so far. You were on the pace at round 1, on the pace at round 2. The rain obviously was the big thing to take away from today. It must have taken quite a bit of effort to get used to that after the dry race 1 and 2.
Yeah, dry race 1 and 2 are just like the first few laps in the wet. I just completely forgot like how to drive it. Just had to think and really focus on what I had to do to make sure I kept the car on the track.
Well, keeping up the pace here, Cooper. We're looking forward to seeing what round 3 brings to you. Congratulations on the win in race 3.
Yeah, thank you, boys.
Cooper Prout there, the new championship leader here in the finals. We're going to move to Hugo Allen now. Scott Rankin stood by with our fastest lap holder in the wildcard entry.
Hugo Allen, that was a tricky little prospect to get your way through, but hey, fastest lap in race number 1 of the night means that it is going to be that fastest lap prize going your way, courtesy of MRP and the $40 Sim Racing store voucher. Mate, tricky conditions at the tail end of that one, but it was all about pace up front to earn that one tonight.
Yeah, no, it was actually really cool. I was quite surprised at how quick everyone was in qualifying, and then it was cool to drive through quite a few cars, and yeah, just had a bit of fun tonight, to be honest. And you know, a couple of boys that you like to see up the front, like Sprague and Prout. So yeah, good to see. You know, hopefully we can get one of these boys in a real car at some point.
Well, that's what I was just going to be about to say. I mean, the big thing for you is you're out there and you're testing effectively the competition who are going to be coming to challenge you out on the tracks in New Zealand this year. That's the big thing about this series, is a challenge and a way to take that pathway and step from the screen to the real world.
In a few ways, I guess like Cooper and Alex, for example, they've already got a feel for what it's like in the real world. But if anything, I reckon it's easier once you get into the real car because you can actually feel more. But yeah, no, it's just cool to be a part of it. Hopefully I can do the next couple of rounds as well, and just keeps me race fit whilst we try and fight for another championship in the real world.
Talk to me a little bit about the challenge in race number 3, and particularly we've already talked about obviously about the crossover and feeling it in the sim, but the line selection, the puddles, the shininess of the surface, being able to read that and the real world skill set that actually provides. Does it cross over? Are these guys being trained in good stead to be able to make that leap?
Yeah, like I didn't do any practice for the wet. I did a bit for the dry, but yeah, nothing in the wet. So it kind of took me a good, like, probably until the last lap to actually properly work it out, and then I actually had some speed. But I think Cooper did a little bit of wet practice, but I guess a lot of people would have been in the same boat as me and just mainly focused on the dry stuff. So yeah, always made it exciting. But I was in the call with a couple of the auto moves guys like Cooper and Jordan. So they gave me a couple of tips to look out for in the wet, seeing as I didn't do any practice. So yeah, cheers to them, and cheers to them for having me as well.
Finally, mate, the floor is all yours to give any thank yous and shout outs that you'd like to hand out.
Oh yeah, again, obviously all my sim gear comes from Madden Racing products. A massive thanks to Barry and again to Auto Moves for having me for the round, and also you guys for running quite a cool category, and obviously thanks to CareVets and Creme Insurance for making it all happen.
Mate, congratulations on getting that fastest lap and a couple of really, really nice results across the races. Win in race 1, second and second from the other 2 races across the night. Not a bad night at the office for you.
Nah, not bad at all. So as I say, just wanting to give these guys a good bit of competition and not try to get involved too much in a championship. But if I can win some races, and it makes my ego feel a little bit better. So. But no, just enjoying it, mate.
Just enjoying it and having some fun. Thank you very much for your time, Hugo.
Oh, good. Thanks, boys.
Finally, one final interview on the night, and this one's nearly one of the most because it's the guy who managed to make the most spots across the evening's racing. Reese stands by with Bryce Harding and the biggest mover.
Absolutely, gaining a mammoth 16 positions in race 2, Bryce. It's a shame that it had to come about that way, because race 1 didn't go the best for you. Started 8th and down to 20th by the end, but it set you up for a massive gain in race 2. I think the double safety car period would have played its part in that, allowing you to reset and get your energy back for more runs up.
Yeah, it certainly did. I mean, I'd done it to myself in the first race. I let the clutch off too early, and once you move a millimeter, that's it. You get a black flag. So I had to go and serve that. So that buggered me for the first race. And the field's so fast here. There was no way I was really going to catch up, make any spots up in that first race. But yeah, the second race, I just put my ears back and went for it. It was good fun. Good fun passing cars. I like that.
Certainly looked fun coming up through the field in race 2. Race 3 was also quite active. You did fall down a couple of positions, but really, I think that was all anyone could do to hold on to the car in those incredibly treacherous conditions.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm pretty sick, which is why I don't have a camera on, because I don't want anyone to see me like this. So I didn't get on to do any practice at all for this until the server opened. So I definitely didn't do any wet laps, so I was pretty happy to just try and maintain. And when these guys clearly had some pace in the wet, I was just pretty much letting them go and trying to hold on and salvage the best position I could.
Well, your prize for this one is going to be a 1-month subscription to Apex Labs Sim Engineering and Driver Training. Always good to make use of all of the tools in your toolbox to up your pace, and I'm sure that'll set you up nicely for the next couple of rounds to come, Bryce.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, mate?
I just want to have a shout out to Koza. Or Corey Crossham, I should say. He's me mate that I do this with. We decided to do this as a bit of fun. You know, it's a real good competition, so shout out to him. Shout out to all the rest of the guys at Sigma Racing, and just thanks to all the other competitors and you guys for putting this all on, and CareVets and everyone else that makes it all happen.
Bryce Harding there, the hardest charger of the day for round 2 of the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. My goodness, Scott, what a night we have had. The rain came and it certainly threw a spanner in the works. We are going to stay in Europe for the next round of the championship next week. We're going to the Nürburgring, the sprint Strecker, the shorter layout of the Grand Prix circuit. It's going to be a fun time for all, I'm sure.
Yeah, another long straight and a lot of opportunity to try and get through. Another couple chicanes where you bounce the car up and over things as well. And the sprint Strecker, that little cutaway section means we don't go all the way down to the bottom. But that hairpin itself, it's really the closest other corner, I think, is Mid-Ohio's hairpin, which we went to in this series last year as well. So we've got a little bit of history with tricky hairpins, and that's going to be a tricky facet for the drivers to try and manage. But also think about the weather. It's cold, tire temperature going to be down, but sleety style conditions. iRacing doesn't have capacity for those. That translates over into rain. Could we see more of that next week?
That is the question. I guess we're going to have to find out when we're live again on NZ Sim Racing TV this time next Wednesday. Reminder that the voting will open soon for your driver of the round. Get onto the NZ Sim Racing TV socials on Facebook and cast your vote for your favorite driver of the night. You and the driver that eventually wins will be in the running to win a pair of sim racing gloves from Speednation, one of many fantastic sponsors who are on board with this series. A huge thanks to Creme Insurance, to CareVets, to Manon Racing Products, to MOZA Racing, and to Apex Labs Sim Engineering and Driver Development, as well as the NZ Sim Racing Collective and NZ Sim Racing TV for helping to get this show off the ground. I'm Reese Gardner, Scott Rankin alongside me in the comms box here on NZ Sim Racing TV. Shout out to all the guys behind the scenes producing and bringing you these beautiful live pictures. We're going to see you all next week at the Nürburgring.